Alright, so it's the weapon selection ceremony at the Cube Adventurers Academy, and every student has to pick their gear. This choice is going to stick with them for the next 6 months, and a massive wall of every weapon you can imagine just materializes right in front of them. The teacher is rushing everyone, telling them to choose fast but smart, so all the students start scrambling for something good. You got tonfas bows, knuckles spears, you name it. Everyone's just trying to snatch a weapon, but then this one dude completely steals the spotlight from everyone else. The entire class and even the teacher are absolutely floored when he reaches out and grabs a pistol. They all think he's completely off his rocker. The teacher even double checks, asking if he's dead serious about his choice. But when the kid confirms he's picking the gun, the students around him just lose it, laughing their heads off and straight up making fun of him. You gotta understand, in this world, guns are seen as the ultimate weapon for total losers. They're just packed with limitations and pretty much suck when most awakened fighters can literally punch bullets out of the air. But our MC, he chose it for a damn good reason. He's the only one who knows how to unlock the gun's hidden potential, because, plot twist, he's the author of this entire fantasy world, and now he's trapped inside it. The novel our MC spent his whole life writing kicked off like 1,000 others. Dungeons and monsters started popping up all over the planet, and everything was thrown into absolute chaos. Humanity was basically on the brink of getting wiped out. Korea turned into the most dangerous place on the globe. But like always, heroes with insane powers showed up and started clapping monsters. They cleared out the dungeons, hero guilds were formed, and thanks to them, Korea went from a wasteland to the safest place on Earth. To pump out the strongest heroes, an academy was founded, the Cube. In this tale, there was a hero and his rival. But our boy didn't get to be either one of them. So, for a little backstory on how he got here, the author got a wild email one day offering a remake of his novel. The book was called The Returned Hero, and it was a story Kim Ha-jin, our author, had barely touched. He'd been hit with a nasty case of writer's block for over 6 months. You ever start something huge, but just can't bring yourself to finish it? Yeah, that was this guy's entire life. Ha-jin had no clue what the email was about. He just figured his fans wanted a rewrite, especially since he'd ghosted the project. The very next day, he woke up inside his own book. And to top it off, he's just another student at the Cube. Back at the Cube, a first-year cadet has just taken first place. This blue-haired, cheerful-looking dude is Kim Soo-ho. And now, for the author's biggest headache, he's watching his own world play out right in front of him. No cap, his own creation literally yoinked him into its reality. The Cube, the cadet Soo-ho. It all proves this is his world, no doubt about it. Our author is bugging out. He's trying to figure out how in the world he got sucked into his own novel. The second he landed in this world, the author apparently unlocked some kind of super hearing ability. He can hear the entire crowd gossiping about Kim Soo-ho's victory, both the good and the bad takes. But what they think isn't our protagonist's main concern. It's the fact that he can hear every single word crystal clear. The name Kim Soo-ho is echoing in his mind. Soo-ho is the actual main character of this novel, the hero of the world the author built. He's the guy destined to save this broken world and bring about an age of peace and harmony. Since he's the classic hero type, he's got that hero's kindness and a relentless drive to do what's right. But what's really juicy is that Soo-ho is hiding a dark secret, something he guards with his life and keeps locked deep down inside. Putting him aside for a sec, our nameless author then spots Soo-ho's rival, the guy who's meant to be his opposition in the story. You know, the one who's supposed to give him a little competition. Stepping onto the stage, the second-place cadet is revealed to be Shin Jong-hak, and this dude is confident, or maybe just plain arrogant. He's your typical trust fund kid whose dad owns one of the biggest companies in the nation. The author notes that Jong-hak's talent is so off the charts, he could genuinely give the main character a serious run for his money. This gets even spicier because later in the story he's supposed to go full-on villain mode. The two central figures of his novel are standing right there in front of him. This confirms it for the author 100% that he's in his novel's world. Which brings up the million-dollar question. If those two are the main characters, then who the heck is he in this story? Is he even an important character? I mean, you'd think if you're gonna get isekai'd into your own book, you'd at least get a name, right? His train of thought gets totally derailed when some other student calls him Chun Dong, asking if he even slept last night. Bruh, the author's mind is just exploding with questions. He can't even process being called Chun Dong right now. The chubby dude confirms it, telling him that he's the only Kim Chun Dong he knows. Hearing the name Chun Dong just obliterates our boy's hopes. He was low-key, expecting to be some kind of major player. You know, maybe have an important role, just like in every single transmigration isekai story ever. But this Chun Dong guy is a total rando that he never even wrote into the novel. The author himself has zero memory of writing about such a nobody. So, my guy figures maybe seeing his own face will be different and jog his memory. He's hoping it'll spark something, but the biggest question burning in his brain is simple. Who the heck is this Chundong dude anyway? The funniest part of this whole messed up situation is when the author finally sees himself and realizes his face is literally just a question mark. He's so unimportant that the world didn't even bother to render him a face. Faced with this absolutely baffling sight, the author is completely shook and tries to get a grip on reality. Then the realization finally hits him. There's nothing that screams you're a nobody quite like having a question mark for a face. But get this, Chundong wasn't even a planned character in the novel. He has no unique look. He doesn't have a cool name, and he basically doesn't even register on the story's radar at all. He's literally been ghosted by the very world he created. Our author falls into despair realizing that no one in the crowd is even paying attention to his featureless face. He's just an NPC, a background character that nobody gives a second thought. Inside the cube, he's painfully average. He'll probably never even get to talk to the main characters, let alone have any impact on their story. If you've ever felt like a side character in your own life, just imagine this poor dude's situation for a second. He's not even a mob character, he's worse. He's basically just a placeholder to fill an empty seat. Totally defeated, the author just kind of deflates, accepting that he's nothing more than a worthless extra. A little while later, our faceless wonder starts getting used to his unique appearance. He's been putting up with it for 2 weeks. 14 days have gone by and absolutely nothing has changed. His face is still a blank slate, which has pretty much confirmed that this whole nightmare isn't just a dream. Instead, he has actually been isekai'd into his own novel. Every single word in this world is something Hajin himself created. Now he finds himself walking among the very characters he brought to life. The Kim Chun-dong persona is just one of many extras, and now Hajin is stuck inside this Rondo's body. As you'd expect, Hajin tried everything to piece together clues and figure out how he ended up in this dumpster fire. But all his digging led to a big fat zero. He has no clue how he got here or who's behind it. On top of that, he's got to figure out how he's going to, actually survive in this world, especially since going home seems completely off the table. Hajin estimates it'll be about a decade before the story reaches the point where he stopped writing. That thought alone is absolutely eating him alive. The horror of trying to survive for 10 years as a nobody in a foreign world is completely terrifying to Hajin, and his question mark face definitely isn't making things any better. Hajin is mourning the life he lost and really doesn't want to be trapped in a story that he never even finished. An exhausted Hajin decides to once again brainstorm ways to get out of this whole transmigration mess. The only potential loophole, his only possible escape route, is to see the main story through to the end. After all, there's a slim chance he might get freed. He thinks if he can just hang on until the plot he wrote is done, then he should be in the clear. It's not like he has any other brilliant ideas to fix his jacked up situation. So, our question mark faced NPC decides that's the game plan. But to pull it off, he's got to survive high school all over again. Now let's switch gears and talk about the Cube, because this place is built different. It's a man-made island where they train the absolute best hero cadets to lead the next generation, basically a mini society with 50,000 residents. This city is a living monument to insane innovation and progress, showing off humanity's top-tier magic and industrial power. In this novel, the Cube is the single reason Korea is considered a legit superpower. Standing in front of the Hero Training Center, Hajin realizes this is the main stage of his story, where all the important stuff is supposed to go down. The building itself is this massive, stunning blue structure. In the world of Hajin's novel, superpowers are called gifts, and this is the academy where heroes learn to master them. And you guessed it, every hero has one, but only the absolute cream of the crop get accepted as cadets into this elite facility, and that includes a guy named Chun-dong. The catch, Hajin is now stuck inside this dude's body, who's supposed to be a cadet, meaning he should be kinda cracked. But here's the problem, Hajin has zero clue what this guy's abilities even are. So, he's basically starting a new game on hard mode with a character he's never seen before. Still, our author is betting that Chun-dong's connection to the training center might give him some kind of an edge he can use to his advantage, because that's his only shot at surviving this terrifying school and its pack of alpha cadets. Hajin steps into Class Veritas, a classroom that's basically the nerve center of the whole Cube training facility. This place is a melting pot of future heroes, villains, and everything in between, including the novel's actual main character, Suho. He knows that soon every one of these faces will be caught up in their own drama and major plot events. As Hajin finds his seat, he's hit with the gross reality that he has to survive a whole decade, stuck with this exact same class. To make matters worse, he doesn't even have a real face to look them in the eye with. For the author, this is legit the worst-case scenario, After the bell rings, all the students head back to their dorms. Hajin is no different, and he's still trying to wrap his head around his insane first day. He can't even figure out how he managed to pay attention. In class, feeling like a freshman all over again. Suddenly, a delivery box sitting on his floor catches his eye. Even the author is thrown by this, because he never wrote a delivery service into his world. As he starts opening it, a million thoughts race through his head. He's wondering if these are just some of Chun Dong's personal belongings. But what's inside completely floors him. It's his own personal laptop. This makes absolutely no sense. A piece of his old world shouldn't even exist here. The laptop powers on by itself, and a system screen immediately starts syncing with him. Hajin, in a total panic, drops the laptop. He looks down and sees the system screen flashing an alert about his synchronization with Chun Dong. The system finishes downloading all the required settings, and then pulls up a full-on character sheet with stats for strength, intelligence, and even abstract stuff like luck. What's even wilder is that these are the exact settings Hajin himself wrote for his novel. His mind is racing with questions, but before he can even get his bearings, his entire body starts to morph. As the synchronization hits 100%, the screen flickers before notifying Hajin he's gained a new ability setting. Intervention. In an instant, the faceless body of Chun Dong transforms into Hajin's real one, completely resetting his stats. Hajin's world has been turned upside down yet again. This time, when he looks in the mirror, he sees his actual face. Not that joke of a question mark he had before, but this is where things get even more complicated. Dozens of system screens are now popping up all around him, and Hajin has no idea what any of them are for. The system then confirms the sync process is complete. He starts to wonder if this is tied to something he wrote called enlightenment. You see, enlightenment is a type of awakening that kicks in once someone shatters their own personal limits. That's the term for it in this world, and Hajin knows all about it because he literally invented the ability. After enlightenment hits, a person's gift, skills, and superpowers all get converted into a digital game-like format, making them way easier to manage. But the real game changer is the growth potential his body just unlocked. Now that he has had a taste of enlightenment, Hajin can get way stronger. To put it simply, Hajin can now pull up his own status window, which displays all his stat points and lists out his abilities. One of his powers is the observation skill, which is pretty much a starter pack ability. Same goes for his second skill, reading. He's also got stats on display, though honestly they're nothing to write home about. Hajin starts going through each status screen one by one. The most mind-blowing one is the synchronization tab, which confirms it was the cause of him changing from Chun Dong's body back to his original, triggering a full reset. What he reads on the screen is beyond anything he could have predicted. While he still doesn't get the how, Hajin is sure that this synchronization is what brought back his face and original appearance. There's also the fact that his personal stats are way lamer than Chun Dong's, who was supposed to be a cadet at this top-tier school. But instead of being stuck with terrible stats, the system gave him points to help make up for his weaknesses. Anyway, with that sorted, Hajin focuses on the unique authority screen. Apparently, he has the power to literally create new objects just by spending something called SP points, which will drain his SP bar. This skill could open up a whole universe of new strategies for him. The catch is that SP or story points are only awarded as the main plot of his novel moves forward, and his value starts to skyrocket. But the wildest part of this whole situation is that Hajin has zero memory of writing any of this stuff for his own character. The author quickly catches on that he needs to level up his own importance within the novel to actually steer the plot and farm some story points while he's at it. He's finally connecting the dots about his mission in this world and why he has access to his freaking laptop. Along with those status screens, it's because this dude is fated to go through a gauntlet battling monsters and ultimately meddling with the main storyline, which is not exactly what he signed up for. So, Hajin is already about to curse out his own literary masterpiece. Just as he's silently raging, another screen just pops into existence, catching the author completely off guard. It's supposed to hold some kind of classified info about his sticky situation. Hajin is so tilted that he has to get his hands dirty in this world just for a slim shot. At getting back to his real one, he hops up and starts typing away on his laptop, since it's not like he has any other option. Hajin figures it's way better to start making moves now, instead of just waiting for the plot to get to the part where he stopped writing. Plus, there's absolutely no guarantee he'll be sent back to his world, even if he makes it that far. The writer thinks that even if this secret intel is totally unrelated to his goal of going home, he could still dig up a critical clue to help him navigate this new reality and smooth things over, by making it easier for him to vibe with the main characters. To hit his target, Hajin's only path is to get strong and fight. He begins to pour his points into his stats, so he can outlive the story, and whatever craziness is about to pop off. Speaking of leveling up, Hajin explains that his novel is kinda built different and doesn't have that typical stat growth concept. That whole level up grind that's in every other story just isn't a thing in his world. The only way to improve is by spending points, which makes them unbelievably precious to their owners. The absolute best strategy for spending points is to dump every single one into luck. It's the only stat that has no cap, and it always delivers some kind of benefit. It helps with cash bonuses and even your love life. It's the kind of S-tier stat anyone would kill for. To make daily life a breeze, it's basically a real-life cheat code. But for a stat like luck, points can't be used to boost its power directly, which gets Hajin wondering if he can somehow game the system and manipulate his luck stat by turning his points into SP. To test out this theory, he decides to give it a go, confirming the transfer of 10 points. As a result, they're converted into 10,000 SP points. Hajin decides to invest 9,000 SP into his luck stat, giving it a 9-point boost, and then the mysterious luck ability activates and kicks in, bumping his luck stat by another point. This means his luck passive actually buffs itself, making it a completely cracked investment. Hajin then glances at the protagonist's stats. Suho's magic power is at a massive 9, but it's hard capped at that number. Well, Hajin just shattered that limit by getting his luck stat to 9.1. As for the rest of his story points, he chooses to focus on perseverance to help him endure the brutal training at the academy. Thanks to Hajin juicing up his luck stat, it also gives his perseverance a major boost. When he pumps it with points, he's already thanking his past self, because the investment is showing some insane results. Suddenly, the system has a meltdown and flashes a warning screen at him. His meddling with probability has triggered an error. Since Hajin was basically using an exploit, the system creates a new rule. To patch this loophole, he can no longer use story points to mess with his abstract stats, and the author is low-key salty that he got hit with a nerf like that, because otherwise he would have been too OP. Hajin knows he just ran into a wall with his little tricks, but still he did manage to get both luck and perseverance to a super high level, which should be plenty for him to handle whatever obstacles the story throws at him. A random thought crosses his mind. He snagged 10,000 story points just for being a beginner, and those points could be used very strategically. Hajin figures he should be smarter about where he sinks his points, so for now, he's just gonna sit on them. The next morning in class, their professor kicks things off with an introduction. And bruh, this isn't just some substitute teacher. Kim Soo-hyuk will be their instructor for the entire year, and he's a global sensation. This guy is known as one of the most cracked heroes out there, rocking a solid intermediate grade 5 rank in the association, which totally hits different. Once he's done with the intro, the man cuts straight to the chase, mentioning how this institution known as the Cube isn't some fancy resort for cadets to chill at. The most important metric here is the student's grade. This means if you can't hit those numbers and maintain a certain standard, you're getting kicked to the curb. It's not like you can just coast by and keep your grades up either. In fact, only about half of the cadets will actually make it through the program without dropping out. This place is all about grinding and leveling up the next wave of heroes, so their judgment is going to be harsh, no cap. The instructor then orders the butte students to get up and follow his lead, because the first order of business is deciding on a main weapon for every single cadet. The moment they walk into the weapons room, the students are left completely speechless, surrounded by all sorts of gorgeous but terrifying weapons. Their amazement is cut short by their hard-ass teacher, who has zero chill and reminds them that this isn't playtime. He tells them to quit sightseeing and commands them to pick a weapon right away. He also warns them that once they choose, they're locked in and won't be able to switch it for at least 6 months. That means if you screw up this choice now, you'll be stuck with a trash weapon for half a year. Kim Soo-ho, the original protagonist of the novel, feels an instant pull towards a sword. The second he holds it, he knows it's the one. One of the girls decides to grab a bow and arrow, confident that she's destined to be an archer. Then there's this girl with blonde hair who snags a rapier, clearly favoring those quick, precise strikes. The other students grab a mix of weapons from whips to other unique gear, while our boy Ha-jin is just thinking about how all these main characters are just grabbing weapons without even thinking twice. But instead of getting caught up in their choices, he knows he has to lock in one weapon for himself. As he starts sorting through his own options, Ha-jin knows he's got to be extremely careful, because one tiny mistake could snowball into a massive problem. His current stats are honestly pretty trash, so he can't hang with the other cadets when it comes to stuff like spears or swords. The same thing goes for trying to use defensive items like shields. To simplify his selection, Ha-jin decides to set a couple of hard conditions for his weapon. The first one is that the weapon had to have existed in his previous world, and the second condition is that it has to be something he can learn to use pretty easily. Once he filters his choices through those two factors, Hajin finally picks his weapon, and his selection immediately turns every head in the room, including the teacher's. His instructor looks totally bewildered and specifically calls out Hajin, asking him if the gun in his hand is really the weapon he's going with. It's kind of funny how this guy basically said, "I'll handle this the American way," and brought a Glock to a sword fight. Hajin gets a hard stare from his teacher, who's clearly confused because he remembers reading that this cadet listed himself as a sword user back in his old academy. Trying to cook up an excuse, Hajin just claims that he changed his mind. That's a pretty wild reason for his teacher to just accept who can't figure out why Hajin would choose to ditch his main weapon specialty right as he entered the academy. The teacher just confirms his choice, since every student forges their own destiny in the cube. With a sigh of frustration, he tells Hajin to remember that the responsibility for this path is on his shoulders alone. All of a sudden, the author's super hearing ability kicks into a whole new gear. He can hear the whispers of the other students totally making fun of him for picking a gun. None of them can get why. He'd use a firearm in a place that's meant to raise elite heroes. Some of them are even plotting to teach him a lesson. During combat practice, writing him off as nothing more than an attention seeker. Despite all these crybabies clowning on him, the author explains that guns are actually super reliable even in this fantasy world. They're basically the best weapon for any normal person who doesn't have access to crazy magical powers. On top of that, the bullets used in this world are a special type. Magic bullets are packed with mana, and when fired they release a shot that's way more destructive and powerful than any regular bullet could ever be. However, those are the only real advantages a gun has. The reason they're seen as a terrible choice and basically ignored for combat use, it's because their power level is totally hard capped. Just look at Kim Horak, who can literally swat a bullet out of the air with his bare hands. The author also points out that the real problem with magic bullets is that their damage output is completely static. It doesn't matter if a god or a goblin pulls the trigger, the boom is the same. Plus, they're built on a weak foundation with a trash-tier origin. See, this world isn't like ours. Here, myths and legends are 100% real. These ancient stories and artifacts are literally forged into insane weapons. This gives their user a massive edge in a fight. The more ancient the backstory, the more cracked the weapon's overall power. This directly juices up the weapon's rank, which is the single most important thing. That's why none of the cadets ever go for modern, freshly made weapons. Their origin points are just too weak. Since they were made in the modern era, old-school medieval gear is way more popular because no cap, it's just plain stronger. Instead of depending on some pea shooter's fixed damage, they lean on their own personal skills. They can even use a weapon's power to absolutely blast past their own limits and level up like crazy. But for our boy Hajin, all this info is pretty much useless. He's got zero to gain from any of it. And he's definitely not the main character of this story. Bruh doesn't even know which end of a sword to hold, and is pretty sure his melee skills are going to be way worse than every other cadet. Running through the logic in his head, Hajin thinks picking a gun was a big brain move for a solid reason. He actually knows how to use it, and he thinks it'll be his ticket to farming those sweet story points. Just by using a gun, he's guaranteed to stand out from the crowd of sword swingers. He's banking on the idea that the more relevant he becomes to the plot, the more points he'll rake in. Alright. So, with the weapon situation sorted, his next problem is getting a talent. Talents are basically this world's version of a superpower, and they're so special that most people only ever get one. But of course, there are always a few individuals who are an exception to that rule. Take the actual protagonist, Suho. The dude hasn't even unlocked his talent yet, but somehow already has the skills of a legendary sword master. The scene flips over to Suho, who finds Nayoon to get some training in, but his classic dense protagonist lines just manage to tick her off. She can't figure out how a guy like him scored the top spot in their class. Suho switches gears and mentions that there's another top ranker with them. Nayoon's confused for a sec, but then it clicks that he's talking about Hajin. Just hearing his name makes her face scrunch up in disgust. She thinks this Hajin guy is a total clown. To be called a top student in their class, Nayoon just can't wrap her head around how anyone takes him seriously when he's carrying a dinky little pistol that has pathetic range. She figures the guy probably gave up on the hero dream and just settled for some lame weapon. Nayoon even speculates that maybe it's Hajin's grand strategy to just quit halfway through the year. But hearing her say that Suho can't help but call her out for jumping to conclusions so fast. Nayoon has no idea what he's yapping about and just gives him a confused look. She snaps at him for wasting her training time with all this talk. And while they're over here gossiping, Hajin is just chilling and wondering if he gets SP when people trash talk him behind his back. That's a solid question, no cap. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Back with our boy Hajin reflects on how the protagonist Suho is destined to be the world's #1 hero with just a single gift. This makes Hajin realize that gifts are a huge deal for him too, and he's not about to sleep on this opportunity to buy one. Whipping out his manual, Hajin literally writes a dead-eye gift into existence for himself. It's a special power that will let him use long-range weapons with pinpoint accuracy. The moment he creates this new power, 10,000 SP points get zapped from his account. The system is so OP that it automatically edits everything on its own, handing him a bunch of perks for the skill he just created like bullet time and other cool stuff. This skill is clutch, not just for his gun, but for any ranged weapon, which means Hajin could even start rocking a bow. And the best part? It's a growth type skill, so even if it's kinda weak right now, he can totally level it up and make it insanely powerful over time. It's a seriously smart long-term investment. Hajin decides it's best to work with what he's got, and now that his prep is done, he feels totally ready for whatever comes next. With only one gift to his name, all that's left for him is to go all in, and just try to make it out alive until the novel's plot wraps up. The scene snaps back to their classroom. The instructor is droning on about the best strategies for cadets when they're tackling towers and dungeons. But the wildest part for Hajin is realizing the stuff he literally made up for his novel is now in their official textbooks. No cap, imagine taking a class where you wrote the curriculum. Hajin is just coasting, having a super easy time. Since he already knows all this stuff, he's got nothing new to learn, so he's actively using his observation and reading gift. To give you a better idea, the observation gift lets him see literally everything. He can scan through objects and even peep the text on his laptop without putting in any effort at all. The teacher tells them to hit the books and review the lecture notes because their written exam is coming up fast. This whole situation has Nayun fired up with pure frustration. She's bored out of her mind and absolutely cannot stand another second of this lecture. All of a sudden, someone interrupts Class Veritas, ordering all the cadets to report to the plaza. Hearing this, Nayun is totally hyped. She finally gets to bounce from the boring class. It's time for some hands-on practical training. That's a subject our boy Hajin is definitely not looking forward to. Once they get to the training arena, the instructor explains the deal. Everyone should already be familiar with the class syllabus. First up, they're making teams of 4 cadets each with 2 warriors. The teams also need a sharpshooter and 1 support warrior. On top of that, these squads are locked in until their mid-semester exams roll around. To keep things fair, all the teams are supposed to be a mix of high-ranking and low-ranking cadets. The instructor tells them to get a move on. He tells them to go find their teammates right now. Hajin takes a look at the status board and is completely shocked to see he isn't on Suho's team, and he's not on Nayun's team either. Worst of all, he's been thrown into a squad with the one person he really didn't want to get paired up with. That person is none other than Yonha, which gets a pretty surprised look out of him. Things are playing out exactly as they did in his novel. A lot of the main characters were specifically designed to interact with the story's protagonist. This was meant to trigger certain events and push the plot forward. But among all those characters, Yonha is built different. She rocks this gorgeous purple hair and is also the #1 favorite cadet from Korea's most elite guild, the essence of the straight. Plus, she's the heir to the Jinsung group, so her family background is seriously stacked. In the original story, Suho and Yonha are supposed to butt heads at first, but down the line, he earns her trust. They become friends, and she eventually becomes the team's main supporter. For that very reason, it's super important for Hajin to get close to Yonha because working with her will let him farm even more story points, which will boost his importance to the main plot. With a look of pure determination, Hajin is ready to do whatever it takes. He needs to grab Yonha's attention and get tangled up in her business. Yonha's other team members walk up and say hello. Besides her and Hajin, the team's got Hosung and Hazuki, which makes a full squad of 4 just as planned. Since Yonha is a pretty sharp and calculating person, she thinks about whether she should even talk to them, but decides she has to since they're teammates. What's kind of funny is how she switches on this super cheerful and formal personality with her new teammates once she commits. Both of the other members are a little weirded out by it, but Yonha quickly shifts her focus to the last member of their group. Hajin makes his way over to her, making his presence known. Even though he's low-key terrified, he knows that Yonha will have a seriously bad relationship with him if he doesn't act confident and carry himself well. Hosung completely kills his vibe and immediately calls him out, recognizing him as the hotshot who actually chose a gun for his main weapon. This dude is just yapping away without a care in the world, having no idea their instructor is about to go off on him for talking trash. And just like that, Hosung gets a massive jump scare from their teacher, who roars at them to get moving on the monster hunting mission. The mission details have already been beamed to every team's smartwatch. Our squad finally gets going. They start making their way through a grain field. Yonha glances at her smartwatch and sees that they're getting close to the target. She tells her team to get their heads in the game and prepare for whatever's coming. More details about the monster will pop up once they actually reach the location. But while the rest of them are sprinting ahead like it's nothing, our poor boy is really struggling back there. He's gonna need some serious David Goggins level motivation, because this man has never run this much in his entire life, even with his stamina stat being above average. He can barely manage to keep up with his team. And to make things even worse, it's not like these guys are anything special. They're just hitting the average standard for any cube cadet. Suddenly, Yonha and the others pull up. They figured out they've finally reached the target's location. This area of the map is known as the 8th coast of the training zone. The scene is set on a boat, which is exactly where a monster is supposed to show up. And speaking of monsters, a gnarly black-humped octopus makes its grand entrance by absolutely shredding the boat. It just tears the whole thing apart with its massive tentacles. Before they jump in and face this thing, Yonha figures they should probably cook up a strategy. They need a game plan for this monster, which happens to be a low intermediate grade creature. The good news is that its physical attacks are basically pillow soft. The real problem, though, are the humps sticking out of the creature's head. Apparently, this black-humped octopus can sense danger and literally shoots out baby octopuses to swarm its enemies. And these little guys are no joke. They're vicious little suckers, and every single one of them is dangerous. They're strong enough to turn a full-grown human into a mummy. Hasung thinks they should just blitz the horde of baby octopuses the second the fight starts. But Hazuki points out they'll need a real sharpshooter to pick off all those tiny targets. You know, with a gun. So she figures Hajime would be perfect for it, but Yonha completely shuts that idea down. She declares that she'll be the one to take care of the baby octopuses and wants her team to save their energy. Yonha's logic is that they'll need to nuke the monster in a single massive attack after she's cleared the small fry. The thing apparently has insanely fast regeneration abilities. Yonha's instant dismissal of Hajin really rubs him the wrong way. He gets the message loud and clear that she's just ignoring him. It's obvious she doesn't even think he's good enough to be part of this training exercise. Yonha asks if everyone else is ready, then kicks off the operation, leaving our boy feeling pretty salty about her attitude. The black-humped octopus starts its rampage by demolishing the boat, while Hasung uses his battle axe to get the creature's attention. He makes a ton of noise, which is more than enough to lure the octopus closer to the shore. Totally enraged, the monster charges straight at Hasung and unleashes its fury. The poor guy is scared out of his mind by its sheer size and just bolts. Hazuki looks ready, but even our boy Hajin is visibly nervous. He's just holding a tiny Glock, while the only one looking completely locked in is Yonha, a whip user. She looks ready to take the monster down right then and there, just like they talked about the black-humped octopus senses danger, and immediately fires off a ton of baby octopuses from its head. This makes Hasung panic, realizing he's the primary target. The murderous little babies are heading right for him, but before they can turn him into a human Capri Sun, Yonha steps in like a queen, using her whip to slice them all to pieces. She stands there majestically in front of the beast. Her teammates are seriously impressed by this display of power. To put it in perspective, Yonha's combat skills alone make her the 7th strongest newbie cadet inside the cube. She's just built different. She gives Hasung a chance to escape while she holds the monster off by herself. Yonha masterfully wields her whip, striking the monster. This just makes the octopus go berserk, and it tries to crush her with its tentacles. Yonha dodges the attack with ease, but while she's mid-air, a baby octopus sneaks up to attack her. It comes from behind, and Hazuki screams a warning, but before Yonha can react, the creature is shot out of the sky by a long-range weapon. She's totally baffled, but there's only one explanation: Hajin's kid just saved her life, and seeing him be the one to save her just annoys Yonha. She finally acknowledges him by name, though. Now, let's take a quick detour to talk about what these SP points can do. Like we said before, you can trade them for stat points, but they also increase whenever Hojin becomes more important to the main characters and the overall story. Since he's supposed to just be a background extra, standing out and getting popular is a huge challenge. The main characters already dominate the narrative after all, so the only other way to gain importance is for Hajin to interact with and directly influence the main protagonist's story, which is exactly what he did by saving Yonha. His shot leaves the entire team speechless. A distracted Yonha tells him to know his place, since she never expected him to actually participate in the plan. But while she's giving him a piece of her mind, the giant octopus unleashes even more of its fun-sized minions. They have to deal with a whole new wave. Yonha prepares to fight them, but this time some of them are aiming straight for Hajin. This fight ain't even a challenge for our boy, who can read their attack patterns like an open book, so Hajin just closes his eyes. He's focusing all his energy to pop off in this critical moment, activating one of his special skills called Bullet Time. This was one of the custom-made gifts the system cooked up and tweaked just for him. It basically warps his perception of time for 3 whole seconds, letting Hajin go full John Wick and clap these ugly monsters with no sweat. After getting a lock on every single target, my man unleashes his inner Rambo and just lets the lead fly at these suckers. Before the 3 seconds are even up, Hajin's already tagged every last creature with his gun, including the ones that were about to jump Yanha. Once the skill ends, his bullets rip through the air, turning each of those octopuses into calamari paste. Now Yanha spots the perfect opening to nail the giant octopus's head. She whips out her whip ties up the creature's humps and shouts for her team to attack as Hassan and Hasuki dive in. They drop a massive magic liberation strike, absolutely destroying the monster in a sick joint attack, finally taking down the black-humped octopus. Its nasty brains go splattering all over the shoreline. After that epic display, an utterly exhausted Hajin collapses in classic dramatic anime fashion. The team's final results get calculated, and their clear time is just under 1 hour, which is far from the best record. But hey, it was still good enough to land them 16th place on the leaderboard, and with that the first monster round is officially over. The time it took them to kill the monster puts them in the 16th spot out of 100 teams, and Yanha is low-key shocked. Turns out their whole fight was being filmed by a drone for monitoring. They can use that footage to analyze their screw-ups and get better, and while 16th place is an accomplishment, to Yanha it's a trash score. She was aiming way higher, and what really grinds her gears is that Nayun casually snagged a better score than her in both the individual and team categories. Nayun's team ranked 4th out of 100 teams, and while Yanha's goal was to widen the gap between their family legacies, she can't believe she's this far behind. Then there's Jonghawk, that arrogant punk who seems to be crushing on Nayun. He just keeps staring at her from a distance, which makes Yanha even more pissed, so she stomps over to Nayun completely furious. But in a hilarious twist, she acts all sweet and friendly, like a total fake friend trying to dig for information. She's fishing for info on Nayun's team performance, but it turns out Nayun is also salty that her team only got 4th place. Nayun had been hoping to at least beat Yanghawk. That's when Yanha confesses that her team only managed to get 16th. She keeps a straight face on the outside, but inside she's absolutely losing her mind with rage. Nayun is actually kinda surprised they even got 16th place, especially with a loser like Hajin on the team. She figures he must be the dead weight that dragged them down, but Yanha knows the real story. The reason she was giving him so much grief earlier was because their travel time to the location took a whole 50 minutes. It was all because our boy's stamina is straight up garbage. If he'd been faster, they could have gotten there in 10 minutes. And that means they would have finished the mission way sooner. But other than that, she has to admit his performance was seriously impressive. He was a massive help during the monster fight, and Yanha remembers it vividly. She can't forget how he picked off every single one of those little freaks with his gun, before they could even get close, which makes her wonder, is a feat like that even possible with regular magic bullets? Hajin's skills just seem so effortless and powerful all of a sudden. She went from having absolutely no interest in him to being genuinely curious about who this guy really is. As for our boy Hajin, he just finished up a workout. I bet he's grinding like crazy to level up his stamina after that last fiasco. Our MC explains that he forgot to check his system notifications since he started training and is wondering how many points he's stacked up. Since his luck stat is permanently maxed out, his accuracy when taking down that monster shot up like crazy. His gift has also leveled up. Now every single shot he fires is pretty much a guaranteed bullseye. Hajin's senses, like his eyesight and hearing, have also gotten way sharper, and his overall story points went up by just 27. Looking back on his performance during the monster round, Hajin realizes his insane luck must be playing a major role. It's definitely helping him rack up SP points too. His master plan of getting involved with Yanha is going off without a hitch so far, netting him all the points he needs. His physical stats have also gotten a nice boost thanks to all his training. His strength, endurance, and health have all leveled up, which his insane luck stat just cranks up to 11. Now that Hajin's grinded his stats this much, he figures it's probably time to call it a day. He decides to wrap up the training session and bounce. Meanwhile, back in her dorm, Johanna is geeking out rewatching footage. She's analyzing their fight from the monster round, and she's low-key obsessed with Hajin's cracked shooting skills. My guy really unloaded 60 bullets in 3 seconds flat with just one handgun. For some perspective, Johanna tries to even imagine shooting 20 bullets a second, and the idea just doesn't compute for her. Trying to pull that off with a regular hand, it's got her wondering if he was secretly using some kind of automatic pistol. She also checks out his physical stats, and yeah, Hajin's agility is nuts. But his other stats, like his health and physical strength, are way below the other cadets. On top of all that, he just randomly swapped weapons right before the selection. Johanna's gut is screaming that something is seriously off here. She can't even remember seeing this dude at the military academy. While she's trying to connect the dots, Johanna gets a text from Jonghak, the guy she's totally crushing on. She hits him back saying she's busy breaking down the game film. Johanna's trying to see if she struck gold with her teammates, because she's got big plans to take over Korea's #1 guild. But Jonghak is kinda surprised and doesn't think anyone on her team is all that special. More importantly though, he wants to know who the mystery gunslinger is, since that's the only performance he actually cares about. A huge grin spreads across Johanna's face. She's hyped that her crush is actually showing interest in her for once. She plays it cool, telling him Hajin is doing just okay for his rank, which by the way is way down in the 900s. Jonghak is completely shocked and asks if Hajin just got lucky. He starts to wonder if that insane performance was just a total fluke. Like, was it all just a lucky break? The scene cuts there, so let's jump to a new spot. We're at the Holy Grace Guild Hall, where the vice captain is absolutely losing her mind over Suho's performance. His footage has totally captivated Sung-ah, the vice captain who can't stop gushing over his perfect and precise movements. And his swordsmanship, no cap, it's on another level, something nobody has ever seen before. Suho is so flawless, it almost looks like he's just cruising through everything in a gentle dance. But then you see his absolutely ferocious cutting power. The dude is literally tearing space in half with his slashes. So, of course, all three of Korea's top guilds have their eyes on this kid. They are all desperate to sign him for his insane powers. Sung-ah is definitely one of them, and she wants to recruit him as soon as humanly possible, especially since he's a free agent right now. But then her next person of interest is shockingly Hajin. She's pretty surprised that this kid uses a handgun of all things, and her assistant confirms it. He tells her that Hajin is creating a huge buzz in the guild community. A lot of people were watching the VODs since Johanna was on his team, and they just wanted to see what she could do. But now the forums are blowing up about how he shot 60 rounds in 3 seconds with a non-automatic pistol. It makes absolutely zero sense. Because even if you take his insane agility into account, there's just no way Hajin's gun could handle that much recoil that fast without exploding in his hand. Since his talent is wrapped in so much mystery and hype, people have started calling him the unorthodox. The vice captain also finds out that he ditched his main weapon. He apparently dropped his sword to start using a handgun right after getting into the academy. Sung-ah instantly knows what this is. He's achieved enlightenment, that super rare phenomenon. It's when a person's true talent or special ability awakens. Of course, it's impossible to know beforehand what kind of talent is going to manifest. Because of that, some cadets will switch their weapons right after their gifts pop, since their new power doesn't match their old weapon. Thing is, a move like that is basically a career ender for a cadet. It usually sets them back by at least 3 years performance-wise. That's exactly why the military academy drills it into students, to learn a bunch of different weapons instead of just maining one. But Sung-ah just can't process it. The fact that this kid managed to become an enlightened warrior at only 17 years old is just built different, but she feels like his talent is pretty one-dimensional if it's just about guns. Still, she thinks he's got enough potential to be considered a candidate, but then Sung-ah immediately backtracks. She figures it's probably better to let Hajin's real skills shine through before they try to bring him on board. She wants to see if he can actually live up to the hype and be the kind of unorthodox talent she's looking for. It's Wednesday, which means it's training time, and Suho is currently locked in a dead-even fight with another student. This part of their regimen is called anti-personnel training. Usually it's a 2-on-2 deal using training weapons, which makes it easy to score and keeps injuries to a minimum. Kim Hajin, however, is getting absolutely screamed at for being the worst performer. Poor guy has the worst luck on the planet. Even with his passive skill, he's the only cadet who got stuck fighting a teacher instead of another student. And because of that, he got his butt handed to him 18 times in a row. The main problem is that the training guns aren't available yet. This means using a real gun against another student is a surefire way to cause a serious injury. That's the reason the instructor himself stepped up to take on Hajin personally. Our boy is suffering and tries to surrender, but his teacher completely ignores his pathetic whining. The instructor winds up to plant a fist right in his face, but right before it connects, our warrior sidesteps it. That critical strike completely shatters the ground, and his teacher is totally shocked that he managed to dodge it. Hajin then proceeds to weave around another 2 punches, making the instructor realize that while he looks like a total scrub with garbage posture, he's actually got a god-tier set of eyes for tracking attacks. It's clairvoyance. This is another skill Hajin got as part of his Deadeye gift, and it seriously sharpens his senses. It lets him see an enemy's movement path, which helps him loosely dodge every single attack. The thing is, he can see them coming, but actually making his body move out of the way is the hardest part. The other students just see his performance and write it off as clumsy and lazy. Even though the whole squad is clowning on him for being a loser, it actually nets him a sweet 40 story points. So, in a weird way, he got exactly what he wanted, but he can't stand the fact that everyone's making fun of him after that brutal training session. Hajin is kicking back with a drink when he glances to his right and sees Yanha walking past. The look on her face is pure disgust, like she sees him as some worthless bug. Kinda funny, considering he's the author who literally created her personality. He's feeling a bit experimental today, so he decides to call out Yanha's name before casually tossing her a drink, which she catches with her insane reflexes. She's confused and asks if he's trying to pick a fight. Bro's riz is so non-existent that she thinks a simple gesture is a challenge. Hajin has to explain that he was just trying to say thanks to her for helping them get ahead in the training session. Inside his head, this little experiment is a huge deal. He's trying to figure out how many story points he can farm from a basic interaction with one of the story's main characters, since he usually pulls 40 points just from the side characters. Yona throws the drink right back at him and warns the idiot not to talk to her so casually, giving him a first warning he'd be smart not to ignore. As she walks off, Hajin has a huge grin on his face because he already got exactly what he was after. As Yonha carries her bag outside, she's confused because her bag feels way heavier than it should. Noticing the slight difference, she opens it up and finds another can inside. Our clever protagonist was slick enough to slip a second can into her bag, earning him nothing but Yanha's pure hatred. She's about to crush the can, but stops remembering that the innocent little can itself didn't do anything to deserve it. The thing about Yanha is she low-key loves basic food like burgers and Coke, but you'll never catch her buying it herself because of her family's high-class reputation. Hajin's whole experiment was based on exploiting this secret part of her personality, something that literally no one else is supposed to know. What's wild is that he didn't even earn that many points from their little chat, which just makes him more determined to get involved. He knows the main story inside and out, so he's aware of what's coming up next. Hagen believes the National Weapons Museum is about to get ambushed by a demonic human. These are nasty beings who've made a pact with a demon. In exchange for their souls, they get a massive power boost. This way, the demons basically use them as puppets to carry out their dirty work. The upcoming incident is going to be triggered by a demonic human who's currently laying low in the museum. Their goal is to take out a very specific target, but in the original story, Suho and the other main characters eventually defeat them, who was also conveniently at the same event, which is how Suho ends up getting a major cosign and respect from all the other main characters. Our main power couple is going to be Suho and Nae-yoon, and they're set to throw down with some demonic humans, but this first villain isn't going to be a huge problem. Since this all goes down in the tutorial level of the story, Suho's first real enemy is a total pushover, and our author knows exactly what's coming. Hajin is already brainstorming how he can jump in and manipulate the event. While he's trying to figure out how to get into the museum, an instructor starts yelling at him for just loitering outside the dorms. So, Hajin grabs his laptop to bounce, and right on cue he gets a super important system message. See, it hasn't been fully revealed yet, but this academy has a whole club system for extracurriculars. Inside the academy, cadets can sign up for different groups where they get to do their own independent stuff. These clubs cover everything from academics and martial arts to chill hobbies like painting and playing instruments. There are literally hundreds of clubs inside the cube, and maybe the biggest perk is that they don't just give you a place to grow your skills. They also let cadets connect, network, and really get to know one another. So, the day finally arrived when Hajin decided he was going to get in on the action and join a club himself. Over at the Cube Gate, Hajin joins the travel club and is met by Han Hyun. He's the club president and is seriously hyped to welcome a ton of first-year members. In fact, when Han Hyun first got the applications, he couldn't even believe his eyes. No cap, he'd been blessed with some absolutely cracked cadets. Han Hyun welcomes them one more time and breaks down the club's main goal, which is simply to rest. Yeah, sounds pretty sweet. They get portal access up to 2 times a month, letting them travel completely outside of the cube. For their very first orientation, Han Hyun says they'll be hitting up a spot nearby. And that spot is none other than Seoul, the capital of Korea. Our author processes this thinking a trip to Seoul should be a cakewalk. He figures if they just pair off, it'll be a smooth ride. So far, nothing has changed from the original novel, so Hajin does a quick mental review of his objective. His mission is to get involved in the first major story arc, which is called the Soul Weapon Museum. Once he's there with some of the main cast, Hajin is going to try and pull some strings to influence the story from his end. The club president tells them to go ahead and draw lots for partners, which low-key catches Hajin off guard, since that's not how he wrote it. In the original novel, the group formation was different, but it doesn't really faze him. This guy couldn't care less, and is perfectly happy to go solo. But when it's time to see his partner, you won't believe it. He actually gets paired up with Yanha of all people, and Yanha, being her usual self, says with a ton of caution that they should probably just do their own thing. Hajin is totally fine with that, and leaves her to her own devices. But before he leaves, Yanha whips around with a glare that could kill a look that basically screams, "I will end you if you ever speak to me casually again." This is apparently his second strike. Hajin gets his final warning because Yanha has zero chill and isn't planning to let him off the hook again. Our boy just accepts the L and moves on. The scene then cuts to the National Weapons Museum, which is set to be the main stage for the story's first arc. It's home to the largest exhibition of weapon replicas in the whole country. And while it's a pretty epic place, Hajin is just casually weaving through the crowd, looking totally uninterested. Then he spots Nayun to his left. She seems completely obsessed with a specific weapon, and since Nayun is so close, Hajin figures the main protagonist of the story has to be somewhere nearby. And what do you know, Suho is just up ahead looking at a weapon all by himself, just like a true MC. Hajin decides to spark a conversation with him, asking if he's checking out the seven-branched sword, and introducing himself at the same time. This jogs Suho's memory, and he immediately remembers him as that cracked-out sharpshooter who joined the travel club. Hajin thinks back on Suho's personality, how he was written to be strong, good-looking, and have a heart of gold. His own readers used to leave hate comments flaming him for making such a cheesy and unrealistic character. Bruh, I guess haters are always gonna hate. Then out of nowhere, Suho says there's a gun exhibition nearby, and that he's interested in going to see it with Hajin. While Hajin agrees to the idea, he knows their little trip to the gun show is never going to happen because of the chaos that's about to break loose. All of a sudden, the museum is flooded with red emergency lights as a transmission blares a warning about monsters, appearing literally right outside the building. The sight of these monsters immediately strikes pure terror into the hearts of all the civilians. The hype turns to straight-up horror as everyone starts freaking out, desperately looking for an exit. It's total chaos, with people shoving each other around, not even giving a thought to the kids, just acting on pure panic. Then one guy just decks the glass with his bare fist, grabbing everyone's attention. The raw power of it stops them all cold. Even Suho is shook when he realizes Nayun is the one who did it. She tells everyone to take a chill pill. Apparently, the museum's backup hero is on the way to deal with the threat, and using that small window of calm. She straight up yoinks a bow from a display case, reminding everyone that they'll be sitting ducks for the monsters if they bolt. But her reckless move totally backfires, setting off all the security alarms. Now they're all locked down inside. She tells everyone to grab a weapon because they need to defend themselves, at least until the real heroes get there. But then Nayun's spidey sense goes off. She feels a seriously dangerous dude in the distance. She gets ready for a fight as this guy emerges radiating a nasty dark red energy. His face and that violent vibe confirm it. He's a demonic human, and he's the one behind this whole messed up plan. Hajin immediately recognizes him. This demonic human is known as the Dog of Lucius. This guy is a major villain who's supposed to be crucial for Suho's character arc. The demon pops its claws. It's getting ready to slice Nayun to ribbons, but it's too focused on the target right in front of it. Suho sees his opening and jumps the guy from behind with his seven-branched sword, aiming to cut the demon clean in half. So far, the plot is on track. Suho is destined to clap this demon with no issues, but then for some insane reason, Suho gets absolutely bodied by a devastating counter. The villain lands a terrifying blow, and Suho just crumples to the ground right in front of Hajin. The author is just frozen, completely stunned. This was not supposed to happen. Suho is down for the count. He's just a few feet away from Hajin, who's having a full-on system error, trying to figure out what went wrong in the story he himself wrote. This isn't how it was supposed to go down. Suho was meant to win, and even if he struggled at the start, he's supposed to have the power to completely vaporize the demonic human. At least that's what was written. But it didn't play out that way. Seeing Suho get wrecked so easily sends Nyan into a full-blown panic. She screams his name as he's coughing up blood, barely able to stand. Hajin knows his boy is in critical condition and definitely doesn't have time to bounce back from a hit that massive. The demonic human walks towards Suho with some serious game-over energy, ready to finish the job, while Nayun desperately tries to think of a plan. She starts spamming arrows right at his face, but this guy is an absolute tank. He eats them for breakfast like they're nothing. A confused Nayun keeps trying to shoot him down, but it's no use. He seems totally invincible to her attacks. Realizing her arrows are having zero effect, Nayun's face just falls into despair. Her confidence is totally shot, and she just can't wrap her head around what's happening. And what's even crazier is, the demonic human isn't even using a special talent or some kind of skill to block her arrows. No, he's literally just taking every hit with his own body. His physical stats are just that cracked. Hajin senses the danger as the enemy starts closing in on Nayun. The demon pops its claws, aiming right for her face. It seriously looks like this is it for Nayun. Right until Suho dives back into the fight, landing a solid kick to its face. Thankfully, Nayun stalling for time was just what he needed. But before they can even regroup, Suho gets sent flying again, barely managing to block. A massive wave of dark energy with its sword. The demonic human then throws Suho for a loop by entering a transformation, shrouding himself in a shadowy aura. His power level skyrockets, becoming so overwhelming that Suho gets taken down almost instantly. To try and stop Suho from getting finished off, Nayun starts shooting the demon from behind, pulling its attention back to her. The monster unleashes a giant claw right at Nayun's face, smashing her into the wall. Everything Hajin is watching unfold is a complete and utter disaster. He's terrified by the fact that either of them could actually die right here. Now that he's seen his novel go off script twice, he's starting to panic. Hajin can't figure out what's causing the main story to derail this badly. He flips open his laptop, trying to salvage the situation, and gathers his bullets, his confidence completely shaken. He knows deep down there's no way his mana bullets are going to even scratch this demonic human. Even if he lands a critical hit, it's still going to be a tough fight, since he's the one who made this world. Hajin feels pretty sure that the most important settings haven't been changed, and with that confidence, he starts hammering away at his keyboard, tweaking his mana bullets attributes for the job at hand. He cranks the attack power to 6 points, and sinks a whole 100 story points just to make the mod possible. After slamming his magazine back into his gun, Hajin gets ready for the showdown, stressing how crucial it is for heroes to have more than one trick up their sleeve to get past just having good stats and affinity. This lets him punch way above his weight class, and with Suho and the demonic human locked in a stalemate, it gives Hajin the perfect window to take his shot, since he knows the demon is a dark attribute user. Hajin is about to use the one and only attribute that can totally snuff out darkness. He screams Suho's name, telling him to get the hell out of the way, as he commands the power of the light attribute. Hajin has created the white light bullet, and he fires a single shot that lands dead center on the demonic human's body. A massive blue beam of light erupts, and that one bullet completely disintegrates the demonic human's arm, leaving it in agony, and at the same time, freeing Nayun from its clutches as the dark energy just dissolves. Nayun slumps to the floor, and Hajin figures he's done his part now that the enemy is seriously messed up. This should give Suho more than enough time to finish the job, but his own body is shaking from using that power. As he puts all his faith in Suho to carry them to the finish line, trusting the protagonist to end it, Suho powers up his weapon, his entire body glowing with a blue aura. He unleashes the sword, Saint's magic and power so cracked it can literally obliterate anything in existence. The ultimate slash ends the fight for good as Suho absolutely erases the demonic human with a single move, its body dropping to the floor. A completely gassed Suho is barely staying on his feet, and Nayun is in the same boat. He checks on her and asks if she's all right. But she's furious and just swats his arm away, so Hajin suggests they just leave her alone for now, since her brother will show up any second to comfort her. He knows this little detail because it's straight out of the original story, but his carelessness just cost him big time, because he's suddenly getting a death glare from both of the main characters. After all, a nobody extra like him shouldn't have any clue about their personal lives. Nayun's voice is weak as she tries to question him, but she's in such bad shape she has to stop. Meanwhile, the monsters just outside the museum are getting sliced and diced by the vice captain and her sick dual blades. Luckily, the situation outside is under control, and all the monsters have been wiped out. She then asks about what happened inside the museum, and finds out about the demonic human that was instantly taken down by the Cube Cadets. She's eager to know more about these prodigies and asks for their names. The vice captain is completely floored to find out that Nayun, Suho, and Hajin were the ones involved in the whole mess. She immediately sprints towards the museum because all she can think about is meeting Suho. Her excitement is off the charts, as she wonders what she's going to talk to him about. Just as Hajin is leaving the museum, he runs straight into her. Being her curious self, she tries to ask about Suho, but Hajin is already ahead of the game and tells the vice captain he's still inside. She goes in but is immediately hit with a wave of shock. How on earth did this random cadet know she was looking for Suho? In the first place, yet another major screw-up by our brilliant author. Later, the dude is trying to take a breather at a park and thinking about how he did not expect to run into Sunga like that. He's starting to wonder if the plot itself is changing. To get his head straight, Hajin tries to start from the beginning. He sees himself as nothing more than a random, background character basically insignificant to the grand scheme of things. The story has been chugging along smoothly, without any issues so far, so it's not possible that he's the one directly messing with its path. But then it hits him like a ton of bricks he forgot about. One crucial thing, and that one thing is that this novel also has a co-author. I bet you weren't expecting that plot twist, huh? Hajin explains that the current version of the story is actually a remake of his original novel. This new version is based on an email he got from a fan way back at the start of the story. And that's why all this unexpected stuff has been happening in the main plot. But if that's the case, then all the predictions he's been working with until now are basically useless, a thought that terrifies Hajin. Because now he has no clue what's going to happen next. He checks his laptop, and there's a new message about a critique waiting for him. The message basically says, the story had 0 real threats, letting the main character just breeze through everything. Any challenge was swatted away, leading to an easy win. But that kind of writing just makes readers get bored and dip. So the co-author decided that from now on, every single boss in the story is getting a massive buff. And they don't care if it makes the whole plot completely chaotic and unpredictable. After that whole mess, their instructor calls in both Hajin and Suho to get the details. He gives them the short version of what happened. He doesn't want to dig into the nitty-gritty just yet, since he's more concerned about making sure they're okay first. A super worried Suho immediately asks how Nayun is doing, and the instructor fills him in. He explains that she filed for medical leave, and her family already came to pick her up. The instructor tells them they should do the same, and head back to their dorms, giving them space, so Suho can finally talk to Heijin. He calls out his name, and the blue-haired MC wants some answers, demanding to know why he said that stuff to Nayun about her brother. For a hot second, Heijin looks totally lost, but then it clicks and he remembers what he said. He's about to say something, but then recalls that email from the co-author, and for whatever reason he clams up. Instead, he flips the question and asks Suho why he even cares so much. Bruh, our MC isn't dumb, and he's low-key getting pissed that Heijin is playing stupid. Annoyed, he just tells him they'll deal with it later. Now, let's take a closer look at Chai Nayun's whole deal. The author breaks it down for us. She was ranked 4th in her entire year at the military academy and is now at the Cube. She's not just known for her insane talent, but also for her family connections. She's the daughter of Shin Hyuk, and even more importantly, she's the younger sister of Jin Yun. Both of those names are huge red flags for Heijin, who's currently digging up info on her. What he can't figure out is this: why did she completely lose it the moment he brought up her brother? Just then, Heijin spots a news article. It's all about Jin Yun's condition, reporting that he's in critical condition after a monster operation went south. As a result, Jin Yun is now stuck in a coma, and the operation that took him down is one Heijin knows all too well. The Jin suppression operation, codenamed Firestorm, was supposed to be a major event that let Jin Yun build his rep by crushing the enemy. This was his ticket to getting even tighter with the main story's heroes. For young Nayun, nothing made her happier than watching her big brother become a legendary hero. But now that entire event has been flipped on its head, completely derailing from what the author ever imagined. Jin Yun is the one who ended up getting wrecked, which is what caused Nayun's trauma. Right on cue, another email from the system pops up. It's letting him know that from this point forward, any changes to the story will be revealed to him instantly. The system also mentions that as soon as he points out these differences, it'll confirm that Jin Yun's brother, Kim Suho's biggest supporter, has been changed in some major ways in this new version of the story. Then we get a flashback showing us exactly what went down. The seriously injured hero was barely conscious after taking a nasty hit. Apparently, the co-author decided that the protagonist had way too many people backing him up, so they made some necessary cuts. To make sure some of them were taken off the board, poor Jin Yun had to be one of the casualties. This all happened 4 years ago. Right after he became a hero for the first time, Jin Yun somehow turned into a demon seed. Yeah, no cap. It's way more terrifying than it sounds. Heijin is shook. He never could have seen a plot twist this dark coming. The scene switches over to Nayun's place, where a radio broadcast is talking about the monster attack at the National Museum. It's reporting 7 casualties and 50 people injured in the chaos. A heartbroken Nayun can't even listen to it, and just turns the radio off, burying herself in her bed. That's when her worried dad rushes in shouting her name. Nayun sees him and asks why he's not at work, but Shin Hyuk couldn't care less about his job right now. He's way more concerned about her, and since she's already at the hospital, he wants her to get a full checkup just in case. But Nayun just pretends she's perfectly fine. She's really trying not to make her dad worry, even thinking he went overboard by coming to see her. But of course, he's the dad, and he's going to worry about his daughter no matter what she says. Nayeon looks at her father and asks if she can please see Jin Yoon just one time before she leaves the hospital. Seeing how fragile and broken she is, her dad immediately agrees. Now let's get back to how Jin Yoon's life got completely ruined. So let's talk about demon seeds, because demons are no cap the most powerful beings in this world. They're built different, way more powerful than even fiends or humans. They've got this unique and absolutely terrifying power to target humans and infect them, turning them into what's known as demonic seeds. Anyone who gets marked as a demon seed goes through this incubation period, which is low-key a parasitic nightmare. The parasite just leeches off its host until eventually the demon seed completely hijacks their body. That poor soul then morphs into a full-on demon, which means Jin Yoon's situation is 1,000,000 times worse than anyone realizes. He's on a one-way track to becoming a demon himself, and this whole incubation thing usually takes about 5 years before the transformation kicks in. It's already been 4 years since the incident, meaning Jin Yoon is nearing the finish line, and he's going to turn into a demon any day now. While this is all going on, his little sister is on her way to his room, and as she steps inside, Hajin has a grim thought. In situations like this, there's really only one terrible solution. Before the demon inside someone fully awakens and takes control, the only way to stop that horrific fate is to take their life. And that's exactly what Nayeon plans to do, standing over her brother's unconscious body and steeling herself for what's next. At the same time, our MC is thinking this whole plan is basically impossible. It's not like there's a line of people waiting for the job of killing Jin Yoon before he becomes a monster, not even a top-tier mercenary. Nobody would agree to take on such a high-risk target, especially since Shin Hyuk is supposed to pass his title down to his heir, Jin Yoon. To make matters worse, the germination process is completely invisible, showing no physical changes at all. This effectively shuts down any chance of outside help. But the biggest problem is that the demon growing inside Jin Yoon will be on a whole other level of strong. It'll be way too overwhelming for the story's main protagonist, Kim Soo-ho, to even scratch. Hajin is sure of it. He also figures that if actual heroes tried to throw down with a demonic Jin Yoon, a whole lot of them would end up in body bags trying to deal with a powerhouse like that. To keep that dark future from becoming a reality, Hajin is willing to do whatever it takes to halt Jin Yoon's transformation, especially since the world is going to need those heroes for the crazy events coming up. As Nayeon sits beside her brother, Hajin is hit with a chilling realization and a crushing wave of defeat. It dawns on him what he needs to do in this scenario. He has to be the one to do the unthinkable and take a life. He knows it's the only way to prevent the even darker future from unfolding. Nayeon starts talking to her brother about the attack earlier. She tells him about her close call and how she'd never fought a fiend so powerful, convinced that any regular cadet would have been totally wiped out by that monster. And as much as it annoys her to admit it, Nayeon can't forget Hajin the sharpshooter, who jumped in and saved all their lives. Ultimately, she bites her tongue and decides not to mention him, then realizes her visiting hours are up and decides to leave. She hopes to come back to see her brother soon, but as she's walking away, Nayeon stops dead in her tracks, feeling an awful sense of dread. It's about her brother. She'd been trying to push the memory down, but it's impossible. There's just no way she could forget Hajin's words. He had such cold eyes when he said it, and she took it as him just trying to bully her while she was down. Nayeon's eyes flare up with pure rage. Remembering what Hajin said, let's switch scenes to the Tower of Heroes and see what Vice Captain Sunga's doing. Bruh, she's over here looking at unauthorized files all by herself, risking her position and about to get in some serious trouble. Sunga is obsessed with the records from the museum attack, which is exactly what's making her assistant freak out. Since she's already breaking the rules, Sunga finds out from the investigation that tons of light attribute magic traces were found on the defeated demonic human's body. This means the people who took him down must have been able to use that attribute. The thought of a light attribute mana user suddenly appearing out of the blue is super exciting for the vice captain, because a hero like that would make fighting fiends a walk in the park. Fiends are all dark attribute, so light mana is their one massive weakness. Sunga is dead set on recruiting this mystery hero and can't wait to snatch up this new talent. Looking at the footage, Sunga vividly recalls that there were only 3 cube cadets present at the museum. Logically, one of them has to be the light attribute user, and the obvious candidates in her mind are Suho and Nayeon, since they're already on the prowl trying to snag both of their talents. But the vice captain is low-key obsessed with a third cadet who's still a total mystery. Then to her absolute shock, she realizes the final cadet is our boy Kim Ha-jin. Yup, the very same guy who bumped into her back at the museum. Meanwhile, our MC is busy grinding away on his laptop. Kinda like me right now, lol. The author, our boy Hajin, has a huge realization. It turns out that literally no one else in this world can see the laptop he's working on. This is why he is able to casually scroll through the story's entire plot without worrying about other characters peeking over his shoulder. As soon as Hajin discovered his laptop was basically invisible, he immediately went all out and installed a new feature. His computer now alerts him anytime the plot changes. Back at the training center, Rachel is giving Damien a masterclass in getting wrecked. This girl has served him nearly 20 L's in a row, to the point where he's practically begging someone to switch partners with him. The new feature Hajin installed is all about detection and alteration. If anything changes, within 30 meters of what the original story planned, Hajin gets an immediate alert. This setup is a game changer that will help him catch any weird situations in the nick of time. He can't just be sitting around waiting on messages from the co-author or trying to spot every little detail by himself. He's now set up to stay ahead of any unexpected drama, but while our boy is feeling good about this upgrade, he definitely wasn't expecting this. A completely unhinged Nayeon pops up out of nowhere, looking like she wants all the smoke, and demands a sparring match against our boy. Hajin just gives her a deadpan stare, and says no, explaining that fighting her wouldn't do him any good. Nayeon immediately calls him a coward for bailing. She then blames him for bringing up her family out of the blue. All the other students are looking on, wondering if a brawl is about to go down. Hojin explains he's not fighting because of his bullets. He says they could cause her some serious damage in a simple training match, and he doesn't want any part of that. Nayeon takes this as him being condescending, which only makes her more heated. Just then, the training instructor shows up and breaks up their little argument. He goes off on Nayeon for trying to pick a fight with Hajin, especially since he's the only cadet without a proper training weapon. Considering the huge risks involved, Hajin is strictly forbidden from training with other students. Nayeon, fuming, just storms off. Hajin is left there thinking it's probably way too late to apologize at this point. What he did as the author was no cap. A pretty dumb move, but there's nothing he can do about it now. Hajin knows. He has a much bigger goal in mind, which is the real reason he's been training, like his life depends on it to get stronger. You can see it in the bruises covering his hand. That main priority is none other than killing Nayeon's older brother. And that's exactly why saying sorry to her seems like a waste of time. If he gets close to her now, it's just going to detonate everything between them down the line and make the eventual betrayal feel 1,000 times worse for Nayeon. The scene switches from there, and we cut to another club's orientation where tons of students have shown up. The president of this club is Yoon Hyun, and he's the head of the Verity Study Club. He lays out their main objective, which is to analyze monsters, and to get really good at tactical research. Their whole vibe is getting together to have intense discussions about monsters. While he's giving the orientation speech, a lot of the students are just mesmerized by his presence and charm. This dude has a special talent for capturing everyone's attention, but the whole thing is a complete facade. The only one who can see through the act is our MC Hajin. He knows for a fact that Hyun is using a demon's power. He thinks back to the first arc of the story, which all takes place at the Cube Institution. All sorts of events, from cadets going missing to full-blown monster invasions, are supposed to happen here. And this guy Hyun, the club president, is secretly a snake who's manipulating everything from behind the scenes. His good looks are just a mask. Hyun is the one responsible for making a pact with the demon known as Lilith. In exchange for her powers of enchantment, he basically sold his soul and became a fiend. Hajin explains that because of Hyun's shady agenda, he joined this specific study club for a very important reason. Among the other cadets, it seems like Yonghwa is also not falling for Hyun's charismatic act. The club president decides to show the students a slice of their usual routine and how they break down monsters. A hologram of a high-level monster called the Monster Tyrant appears on stage. This beast first showed up right after the cataclysmic event that unleashed all the towers and dungeons upon their world. To this day, that thing has a perfect win-loss record. Hyun points out that any intel on these higher-tier monsters is basically a golden ticket. It's beyond critical for the institution, because it lets them actually strategize on how to take these things down. In fact, just finding a single weak spot on a monster can be sold for billions of won. Feeling a little cheeky, Hyun decides to put someone on the spot and asks Yanhwa for her hot take. He wants to know what she thinks the creature's vital points are. Yanhwa immediately claps back, saying its weak spots haven't even been found yet, which is 100% true. But Hyun insists her opinion is still valuable, since spitballing theories is basically the whole point of their club. To wrap things up, the club president invites everyone to hit up the after party and trade their best guesses about the monster's Achilles heel. With the meeting done, Hajin slides over to Yona to ask if she's going, but he gets completely ghosted. My guy tries again this time, literally shouting to get her to look at him, and Yana finally stops. She confirms she'll be at the party because she might scoop up some useful information. Hajin, figuring out her game plan, just blurts out and asks if she's planning to use that intel to lead her guild's next assault team. That question definitely gets a reaction out of Yana. Her guild, the Straits of Essence, is a total powerhouse, with some serious history going back to when monsters first started pouring out of the gates. Yana's own family founded the guild 50 years ago, which is why it's one of the biggest names in the whole country. Hajin keeps going, dropping more insider knowledge about her guild's drama that leaves Yana totally shocked. He brings up how the current vice guildmaster is making some serious power moves, threatening to snatch the leadership spot right from under her. He's trying to cut in line ahead of Yana, the actual successor. Hajin then asks if that's her real mission to go to the party and dig up some dirt to get an edge. Fed up with him talking in circles, Yana demands to know what he actually wants. That's when Hajin hits her with the offer of a lifetime. He's willing to tell her the mountain tyrant's weakness. She's completely blindsided by his proposal, but from Hajin's perspective, it's a necessary move since Yana has to prove to her guild that she's for real. She needs to show everyone she's got what it takes to be a leader, and Hajin explains there's a small blue mark hidden away on the monster's heel. He tells her that if her team hammers that one spot, it'll paralyze the beast for a crucial few seconds. But he makes it clear this info isn't free. He's looking to get something from Yana's guild in return. He wants a specific high-tier weapon from their armory, a Desert Eagle. This man is about to go full-on Call of Duty mode. Yana, being no fool, asks him if he has any actual proof to back this up. She's looking for some kind of research or notes on this supposed weakness. He just grins at her and straight up admits that he has absolutely nothing. It's such a ridiculous claim to make with zero evidence. Yana's face just goes blank as she realizes something. She figures he's just full of it and is completely wasting her time, so she angrily turns and walks away. But Hajin calls after her, warning that she's going to regret it if she doesn't take his advice. The ball is in her court now. At the end of the day, if Yana actually trusts him, he just scored a powerful new ally. And the craziest part? The moment Yana gets outside, she immediately calls up one of her guild's handlers. She relays a new order for the assault team that's being sent to hunt the mountain tyrant. Stuttering a little from the sheer embarrassment, she tells her team to focus all their attacks on a blue mark on the creature's heel. She says it might be its vital point. No cap, she actually went with his advice on a whim, even without a shred of proof. Hajin thinks to himself that he probably just made a very smart investment because Yana is destined to become the king of souls someday. But then Kim Hajin comes up against his greatest enemy yet, a student loan payment invoice. Playtime is officially over. This dude just got hit with a bill for 300 million won. The look of pure terror on his face tells the whole story. My guy can't even wrap his head around how much money he's in the hole for. Turns out he's already hit the absolute max for student loans, which makes Hajin wonder, what kind of train wreck was the original Chundong's life that he needed to borrow that much cash? Well, Hajin's problems just got way bigger. He checks his bank account and sees that he has a grand total of 3 million won to his name. Bruh, that's barely a drop in the bucket compared to the mountain of cash he owes the institution. He has absolutely zero chance of ever getting back to his world. Instead, he's going to be trapped here grinding jobs for the rest of his life. And it's all just to pay off this ridiculously massive debt. Hajin scratches his head, realizing he desperately needs a job. A feeling that probably hits different for some of you watching. I hope not, but hey, in this world, there are basically two ways to make some serious bank fast. The author explains the first method is to play the stock market. My guy is out here trying to become the next Wolf of Wall Street. But here's the kicker: ever since towers and dungeons started popping up all over the planet, they're now being conquered by powerful guilds made up of heroes. The shares for those guilds get listed on the stock market, which lets people trade them like crazy. And Hajin has the ultimate cheat code. He knows every single guild that's about to go public. Since he's the author, he's got all this insider info. The real problem is he needs to get his hands on some startup cash. He needs some capital to invest, meaning stocks aren't a quick fix. That leaves his second option, the field. Hajin is pretty sure this is his only real path forward for now. Field hunting is a totally different way to earn cash, since the field itself is a certified danger zone. The whole place is just crawling with monsters. Unlike the usual tower and dungeon runs, fields offer a huge variety of creatures you can hunt down for a massive payday. Think of it like being a bounty hunter, but you sell the monster carcasses you collect. However, the biggest thing standing in Hajin's way is Loki himself. His personal stats are complete trash, barely better than an average dude, so his confidence is at an all-time low. He's not sure he can even survive a field hunt with his current skill set, and he's seriously sweating it. The author knows it would be a total waste to burn his precious story points just to upgrade a basic training pistol. He's determined to find another way to buff his stats or power up his weapon. Suddenly, his doorbell rings. A voice calls out his name, letting him know there's a package for him, from Cadet Yanha. Hajin is thrown for a loop, especially since Yanha is not the type of person to ever interact with him. He opens the door anyway to see what's up, and finds a small box waiting for him. He opens it only to be completely floored by what he finds inside. And with that, the scene zips over to the Wonju field zone in Gangwon province. Kim Ha-jin has used a portal to travel to his very first field hunting expedition. Looking pretty sharp in a clean outfit, Ha-jin gets a good luck from the receptionist and realizes just how much clout cadets have. No matter the location, they get respect. He walks out of the portal station and into the province. This particular area is known for being a low danger zone, and it blew up as a tourist spot. Adventurers from all over the world flock here, earning the province its new title, the International Metropolis. One guy is shouting, looking for a party member who specializes in magic to help him tackle Chiak Mountain. The place is packed with people just like this, and Hajin just casually weaves through the crowd, taking it all in. He notices one of the employees confirming that a team has successfully taken down 3 hobgoblins. Seeing this sparks an idea for Hajin. It could be way more profitable for him to sell his monster loot. If he uses an agency, the whole process would be a lot smoother. He's scanning the area for an agent when a man suddenly calls out to him from behind, seemingly knowing exactly what Hajin was thinking. He asks Hajin if he's there to hunt monsters. Our cadet says yes, and quickly learns that this nervous-looking guy is actually an agent who flashes a business card to prove it. Hajin was not expecting an agent to be so on edge, but then he glances at the name on the card. It's an agency led by Park Soo-hyuk. No cap, this is the same dude who will eventually become Suho's personal agent. So, while he seems like a mess right now, he's built different with the skills to recruit the best of the best. This guy is on track to become the CEO of Korea's top agency. It's seriously weird that Hajin is running into this major player so early in the story. Right now, he's just green and inexperienced, which explains his shaky demeanor. This whole situation has Hajin super curious about their agency. He shoots his hand forward, totally ready to get recruited into their agency. In his head, Hajin knows this is just the beginning of the story, with so many characters who haven't even hit their glow-up yet. They haven't bloomed into who they're meant to be, so he's basically investing in their potential by building these early connections. All of a sudden, a thought hits him. This guy is meant to be Suho's agent down the line. Hajin starts to wonder if poaching him is actually the right move here. A little while later, as they're trekking over to the monster zone, Hajin asks the agent if he's doing all right on his own, and we see that the dude is just completely wiped. It looks like he hasn't done this much cardio in his entire life, and is on the verge of collapsing, which low-key makes sense. Cadets are just built different physically, while agents usually just trail them in vehicles. As they get closer to the danger zone, the agent spots some hobgoblin tracks. These guys aren't the hardest to take down, and a couple of them can net you almost 400,000 won. The agent thinks it's a pretty good deal, but for Hajin, that kind of cash just doesn't cut it. He's thinking about how just one of his mana bullets costs a crazy 200,000 won, way more than he's comfortable with, so he's looking for a bigger payday. He needs way more than what he'd get from just taking down a few goblins. Locking his eyes on a new target, Hajin points to a boar monster chilling below the cliff and asks if it's cool to hunt that instead. The agent immediately starts stressing because that's a steel boar. That's a monster famous for being immune to bullets, since they're not strong enough to get through its tough hide. Hajin just brushes off his warning and happily strolls ahead with zero chill, leaving the agent completely speechless. From the agent's point of view, on this point of view, this kid is basically asking to get turned into a pancake. Hajin makes it clear that the gun he's carrying is more than enough to handle it. Bruh is basically saying his new strap can solve any problem. And he isn't just bluffing. Hajin got a brand new gift from Yonha for that information he traded. And what does he pull out? My guy whips out the Desert Eagle in all its glory. This beautiful piece of hardware is also juiced up with a new feature he bought. All it took was spending a couple of extra story points to get that sweet upgrade. The agent is dead set against messing with the boar and tells our boy to be careful, but Hajin is feeling reckless and doesn't give a damn. He locks onto his target and lets loose a single explosive shot that zips past the monster. It was like a precision laser beam, putting it down in one clean hit. The insane kill shot leaves the agent completely stunned. He's so shocked that he just stumbles and falls to the ground in total. The system then gives Hajin a reminder about that special feature he installed every time he scores a kill with this weapon. Its destructive power gets a 2x amplification. No cap, that is absolutely cracked. This man is on his way to becoming a complete menace with that kind of ability. Hajin is pretty happy with what he just pulled off with his new toy. Seeing Hajin's insane weapon and his incredible shooting skills, the agent is left seriously impressed. But our boy has no time to soak in the compliments. He's already finding his next target. Before another powerful shot rings out, The agent asks him what he possibly could have killed this time. Hajin explains that he spotted a black pelican in the distance. So, he just decided to shoot it down. The agent can't believe he can see that far with such pinpoint accuracy. To be able to snipe something out of the air like that is next level. Kim Hajin confidently confirms his skills, joking that he's got eagle eyes. After that, he tells the agent he's heading down the cliff to take care of the dead monsters. The agent scrambles after him in a rush, with a black pelican and a steel boar taken down. They've scored 2 high-value monsters back-to-back. Hajin then asks if he's able to get them transported back safely. Soo-hyuk says it'll be easy enough. They'll just pay the dispatch fee and call in a logistics team. He even starts crunching the numbers for how much they'll make after taxes. Hajin is genuinely impressed by his sharp attention to detail, which is the very thing that will make this agent famous across the country. He shakes Hajin's hand with confidence, and they both agree they want to extend this partnership into the future. The agent remembers Hajin mentioning that this was his first ever field hunting experience. Acting like a true businessman, he asks the boy how he plans on spending all the money he's about to get. Hajin tells him he's just going to buy stocks. His answer completely shatters the man's expectations, especially when he names the fledgling guild called Packhorse Masters, which was actually started by a demonic human or fiend in the original novel. These guys are a huge deal, and our boy is just chilling at his laptop. Hajin starts thinking that the guild isn't what he should be stressed about. It's the upcoming dungeon assault that's the real problem. In the original plot, the Packhorse Masters Guild is set to raid the Devil's Lair dungeon, and immediately after their stock prices just explode. They skyrocket by nearly 1,000%. That's why he's confidently dumping his cash and snagging their stocks before anyone else. This way he can ride the wave and cash in big time later. It's low-key the easiest way to stack paper when you know the future. After dropping 3 million won, he finalizes the purchase and starts wondering where else he can get some insider info on stocks. The usual internet forums aren't giving Hajin much, so he figures a shadier site like the Violet Haze might actually be more useful. Then something clicks in Hajin's memory. He remembers the Mask Syndicate, a group that becomes a major pain. They're basically the main villains for the second half of the story. True to their name, they're a criminal organization shrouded in mystery. But since he's literally the author, he knows every single one of their identities. Not just that, but he also knows their secret hideout. Hajin realizes he's probably the only person on the planet with this intel. These guys are all grade A scumbags. But even though they're criminals, they have zero chill for fiendish humans who they see as even worse. Hajin wonders if he can get in good with their leader. If he could build a connection with the Masked Syndicate's boss, it might just help him take down Chai Jin-yoon when he eventually revives as a demonic human. As he weighs his options, Hajin thinks there's gotta be an open spot in their organization. This means he's got a window to make his move, but while he's deep in his search, his laptop screen just blacks out. Kim Hajin is shook, leaning in closer to the screen worried. This is a complete disaster for him. That laptop was his only link back to his old world. If he loses it, he's totally screwed. Luckily, the screen flickers back on, and he can finally breathe again. It's already been a whole month since he got isekai'd into this world. Turns out, the laptop is just getting a random update. Bruh got hit with a forced Windows update and almost fainted. He thought he was about to lose everything. Anyway, let's cut to a different scene. Over at a fancy restaurant, a couple is dining alone. They're grabbing everyone's attention. It's the totally uninterested Jong-hak and the super cheerful Yeon-ha. Jong-hak breaks the silence, making it clear how annoyed he is. He says he can't stand these stuffy high society meetings. Yeon-ha just teases him about it. She points out that he's the one benefiting from this whole thing. After all, he's chatting with her. You know, the girl who's destined to be a major player in society. She asks about his grades and finds out he's doing just okay. Yeon-ha throws some shade asking why he isn't aiming for first place. But here's the thing, Jong-hak thinks his grades are only okay because he's in second place. My dude is winning, but his standards for himself are just built different. But their little chat gets crashed by an unexpected visitor. It's the drop-dead gorgeous Na-yoon, Jong-hak's crush. This man literally shoots up from his seat, completely breaking character. He's just trying to get her to notice him. Seeing him act so thirsty is a major turnoff for Yeon-ha since she's totally into him. Yeon-ha asks Na-yoon if she's feeling alright, and Na-yoon says she was doing fine. But while they're bickering back and forth, Yeon-ha is getting super ticked off about being ignored. Then out of nowhere, Na-yoon mentions Kim Hajin's name. That immediately gets Yeon-ha's attention. She turns to Na-yoon and starts asking about him. Na-yoon explains that during that whole demonic human mess at the National Museum, there were only 3 cadets on site, and one of them just happened to be Haejin. The fiend was absolutely wrecking them, and it took down both Suho and Na-yoon. They were so beat up, they couldn't do a thing until some guy just jumped into the fight out of the blue. Kim Ha-jin completely obliterated the fiend's hand with a single shot, and Na-yoon saw the whole impossible thing happen. She couldn't wrap her head around it. I mean, how could he pull off a shot like that with a basic training pistol? It makes her seriously question what his deal is. Yeon-ha is lost in thought when Na-yoon decides to dig for more info. She really wants to know what Yeon-ha thinks about the guy, especially since they were partners during their very first training exercise. The question makes Yeon-ha flinch a little. Turns out, she actually ran a full background check on Kim Ha-jin because she was suspicious of him too. All she found out was that he's an orphan who got into Cube and is stuck with a crazy 300 million won debt. But besides that surface level stuff, she doesn't actually know anything special about him. What really bugs her is how he knew about the Mountain Tyrant's weak spot. That was something that not even the smartest researchers or analysts had figured out back then. Yeon-ha remembers trying to ask him about it, but my guy was being a total brick wall and wouldn't spill the beans, which is exactly why she's dead set on digging up his secrets. See, Yeon-ha's got a feeling he's going to be a heavy hitter for the guild down the line. She admits that at first he seemed like a total nobody, but then she starts connecting the dots about his performance in training. His attacks were way too weak to just snap a fiend's arm clean off. So, with that in mind, she figures he's got to have some secret weapon he's keeping under wraps. That's when Na-yoon drops a wild theory in a whisper. What if Kim Ha-jin is low-key a monster in disguise? This idea coming from her absolutely shakes Yang-hak and Yeon-ha to their core. Even the purple-haired girl can't wrap her head around one fiend just icing another one like it's nothing. Na-yoon knows she's missing something, but she can feel in her gut that something is way off with Kim Ha-jin. Speaking of weird, Ha-jin's laptop starts bugging out, and the update bar is about to hit 100%. All of a sudden, his wrist starts heating up like crazy. The feeling cranks up to a sharp pain, and blood starts soaking through his sleeve. Ha-jin totally freaks out as this burning agony shoots through his wrist. Turns out this new update is forging a stigma, a symbol of the creator's power. Every single time his influence grows, and the story's progression levels up, his mark is going to level up with it. The magic packed inside this thing can be unleashed whenever he needs it, and it'll recharge on a 24-hour cooldown. Meanwhile, Ha-jin's head feels like it's going to split open, and his whole body aches. It's like a tidal wave of data is getting force-fed into his brain, and there's absolutely nothing he can do to stop it. Back at the restaurant, Young-hak slams his hand on the table, pissed off that Na-yoon is still so bent out of shape over what Ha-jin did. At the exact same moment, Ha-jin can't even stay on his feet and just crashes to the floor. Flipping back to Na-yoon's perspective, she's stuck replaying those ice-cold words Kim Ha-jin threw at her. Na-yeon doubles down, saying she straight up can't stand the guy. Meanwhile, Ha-jin's out cold, his body totally giving out, and we get a clear look at that new stigma mark. The update wasn't just for show. His laptop pings with a notification. A new power-up has just been added to his observation and reading gift, juicing up its abilities even more. Alright, scene change to the Association Tower in Seoul. So, right after that whole mess at the National Museum, Suho Na-yoon and Hae-jin, who were all in the thick of it, are getting some serious props for their heroism. Their badassery didn't go unnoticed, since they basically saved a chunk of the city. Kim Ha-jin's wrist is still absolutely killing him from the day before. He's not dying anymore, but the ache is for real. Plus, he still has zero clue what this new mark actually does. To make things worse, Ha-jin has the bad luck of sitting right next to Na-yoon, who's giving him the death stare and tells him to zip it before he even breathes a word. Just him being there is enough to set her off. She just can't stand him being in her personal space. Ha-jin, a bit confused, asks if she's already forgotten what went down. He's quick to remind her that, he also kinda saved her life that day. Na-yoon is fuming hearing this from him, but low-key she knows he's spitting facts. She snaps back at him, which forces Suho to jump in and stop them from beefing. He even offers to swap seats with Na-yoon to chill things out. But nope, her stubborn self doesn't want that either. After a bunch of back and forth, she finally agrees to trade spots with Suho, who now sits next to Ha-jin and gets straight to the point. He genuinely thanks Ha-jin for saving all their necks. Something our MC is honestly shocked to hear. Suho makes it clear that if he hadn't stepped in, they would have been toast. He was basically their knight in shining armor, and they're damn grateful for it. But our boy is humble about it, thinking they probably would have figured out a way to win even without him. I mean, no cap if Ha-jin wasn't there. Suho would have just hit him with that classic protagonist power spike and evolved to a whole new level, just to crush the threat. That's just how main characters are built different, right? Every time they get knocked down, they just come back stronger. The scene then cuts over to the main auditorium, where one of the literal goats of the hero world is about to walk in. He's rocking long hair and a seriously extra outfit covered in dragon designs. The guy strolls in with an aura of pure confidence, but he also looks like he couldn't care less about being there, even muttering about what a waste of time this all is. This dude is Yoon Shi-hyuk, a top-tier hero ranked 37th in the entire association. His presence is so overwhelming that the whole crowd goes dead silent. You can literally feel the power radiating off him. And with that, the award ceremony kicks off, where Nayoon Suho and our boy Hajin are all waiting in the wings. The awardees are called up to the stage, and surprise, it's our 3 cadets. So a few cadets are getting honored for their heroic actions in serving the city, with the awards being presented by none other than Shi-hyuk. This dude is one of the biggest names in the Hero Association, and he's here to give these rookies props for their awesome performance. They basically took down a major demonic threat, saving tons of innocent lives in the process. First up to the plate is Suho, and Shi-hyuk hands him his award personally. He can totally see the potential in Suho's power, commenting that he's a real talent worth snatching up. Suho gets his official certificate of honor. That's when Shi-hyuk hits him with a wild offer. He wants the kid to completely forget the association and come work directly for him. He wants Suho as a hunter in his Forsaken Plains guild, telling him the whole hero gig is just lame and boring. Shi-hyuk makes it clear he has zero respect for the mountains of responsibility involved, but our confident boy isn't having it and shuts the offer down. He's perfectly happy with his choice to be a hero, and you can see Shi-hyuk's mood totally deflate after being rejected. With his vibe killed, he just moves on to the next cadet. When Nayeon gets called up, she's visibly flustered because it seems like Shi-hyuk recognizes her. Turns out this guy is supposed to be her master, or at least that's what she wants everyone to think. But Shi-hyuk, with absolutely zero chill, clarifies that he doesn't see her as a student at all. Her father just begged him to train her, and that's the whole story. Hearing that blunt, disappointing truth totally crushes her ego, which low-key makes our boy Hajin crack a smile, because she definitely needed to be humbled. And then it's the final cadet's turn. Shi-hyuk seems genuinely interested in Hajin for a second, but only because he has absolutely no idea who this plain-looking kid is. The first thing he asks is literally, "Who are you?" because that's how insignificant Hajin appears. Our MC takes it all in. He compares the feeling to pure indifference, as if his very presence was being ignored because Shi-hyuk wasn't giving him any attention. It just hits different from how the others were treated. The award ceremony ends just like that, which sounds pretty boring. Cadet Nayoon is immediately surrounded by people asking for her thoughts. After the ceremony, our boy is happier than he's ever been. He just scored a whopping 15 million as prize money for taking out that fiend, which is awesome because he's gonna need every penny. He's still got that 300 million debt to cover. He sits down alone and starts planning how he's going to invest the cash. His main goal is to buy more stocks from the guild, but in the meantime he's dying to check out the new features his laptop got after that painful update. As soon as he opens his laptop, he gets a message telling him about the updated functions. The first is the stigma mark he received, the second is internet activation, and the last is the Tome of Truth. This last one got added to his observation and reading skill. The stigma mark is definitely related to what happened to his arm, but there's barely any description for it. The system just says he can use magic whenever he wants. Even with that info, Hajin is struggling to figure out how to actually activate the ability. Just as he's thinking about how to turn it on, the mark forms a glowing crest, signaling it's about to pop off. Scared he might accidentally blow something up, Hajin decides to take this experiment back to his dorm where nobody can see him. It would be a huge pain if someone spotted him doing this after all. The second update is all about activating the internet. Hajin moves his cursor over the button and clicks. After a short pause, the screen changes. It redirects him to a ton of different websites, with names like Law Abiding Spirit and Violent Haze. Not only is he getting free access to normal websites, but this is some next-level stuff. He's also getting into restricted sites for free. Of all the websites he sees, the most important one is definitely Violet Haze. That site has literally everything he could ever need. It's the most infamous members-only website out there, a place where people can trade critical information, weapons rewards, quests, and so much more. There are only a few heroes who don't use this site. Because of its popularity, the government has basically decided to look the other way. They just ignore the underground trading that happens there. There's usually a ridiculously high access fee just to get into the website. But for our boy, all he needs to do is spend 200 of his valuable story points. He immediately makes the purchase. He sets up his account for now, and the moment he starts thinking about which page to check out first, someone calls his name. It's the beautiful Sung Ah. The vice captain has caught him. She knows that Hajin is aware of her identity, and she also remembers something else. She noticed he was the only person who vanished from the ceremony a little while ago, and she came over to find out why. Especially when she hands him the business card for her guild, the Holy Grace of God. This ain't just some casual exchange. Even Hajin knows that getting this card is a major league accomplishment. Sungha has a ton of questions for him, so she takes a seat ready to grill him. Of course, Hajin is already one step ahead, guessing that she's probably feeling him out for a potential recruitment offer. So she settles in and asks if he's ready to answer a few things for her. Now the media always paints Sungha as this super sweet, kind-hearted person, but in reality, she's built completely different. She's known for chewing up even the most elite talents and spitting them out. If you're not the absolute pinnacle of skill, she doesn't care. The woman deals in nothing but absolutes. She has no problem leaving anyone she deems unnecessary or unimportant in the dust. That's the real Vice Guildmaster Sunga, and forging a bond with her right now is going to be a game changer for Hajin's future success. That's exactly why before she can even start her pitch, my guy just straight up shuts her down. He hits her with a stone-cold "I have nothing to say to you" after she just got rejected. Sungha, a bit taken aback, tries to smooth things over, making it clear that she's the one who's super interested in him. She makes sure to drop the fact that she's the Vice Guildmaster of the #1 guild in all of Korea. Hajin gives a little nod to her rank and title, but he's totally dismissive because he knows her real motives are personal. He knows no cap that the only reason Sungha is here is because she saw the video of him pulling off that light attribute shot. It's not like she's genuinely trying to scout him this second. Nah, she's just trying to satisfy her own curiosity. She's just armed with a whole bunch of nosy questions. That's why our dude is playing hard to get, making it seem like he's the one holding all the cards. This tactic is designed to play with her emotions, turning that fleeting curiosity she feels now into some real genuine interest down the line. Then this man pulls off a massive power move announcing that he's about to dip, which leaves Sunga completely shook. Back to his stigma, we get more info on how it works now that his total story points have passed a certain level. The attention score will jump up a level, and another stroke gets added to his mark. It's also spelled out that Hajin can pop this power whenever he feels like it, and after one use it'll recharge over a 24-hour period. To test out his latest skill, Hajin focuses his mind on creating a dagger with his magic, and then suddenly, the mark conjures a legit mythical brain out of thin air. This dagger isn't some illusion. Hajin can feel its weight as he moves it around. He can tell it's ready for action. The whole deal with magic is that it's a stat that's tied to your natural talent and knowledge. Since Hajin just got isekai'd into this world with zero backstory, he naturally figured he'd be useless when it came to magic. But he's actually hyped that he's found a workaround, a way to use magic on his own terms, thanks to his stigma's power. The last thing on his checklist is the Tome of Truth, an item that's meant to juice up his already existing skills for observation and reading. Hajin thinks about it for a sec before deciding to call out the ability's name, which once again triggers his stigma. A book containing the truth materializes before him. The book's mystical aura gives Hajin the power to get an answer to any question, as long as the question falls within the item's magical limits. How absolutely cracked is that? Even the author has to pause for a second to process what he just read, to see if it's capping. He asks the book about his own height. And it turns out our boy is a certified short king, standing at 174 centimeters, or just a little over 5'8" in freedom units. But there's a catch: using the Tome of Truth costs 1 story point for every single question asked. All of a sudden, Hajin's smartwatch starts blowing up, signaling an emergency alert from the school. A group message pops up from someone, trying to get a student's location. Seeing this big red emergency notification, our boy immediately starts wondering what's going on. He figures this might be the trigger for the second huge event that's supposed to happen in the main plot. The case of the serial disappearances of cadets at the Cube. This particular arc involves 6 cadets vanishing into thin air. The person behind it all is a ghost meticulously covering their tracks. They don't leave a single shred of evidence, making all the investigations useless as the number of missing students just keeps climbing. It's like they're all stuck in some twisted, never-ending game. Hajin notes that this whole episode is critical because the culprit's final target is none other than Yu Yun-ha herself. Now even Hajin gets that things could get real messy for him if the co-author decided to step in and meddle with this part of the story, especially if they went and edited in a few changes, because they could literally just delete a main character from the story, just like that museum incident. Our MC wants to take charge and catch the perp himself, but he figures it's probably a waste of time. His meddling would just mess up the story's flow for good, so for now all he can really do is just chill and watch things play out. The scene flips to the training center the next day where Suho is grabbing some water. That's when one of his buddies points out a scene unfolding right in front of them, where Hajin is trying to get a workout in and level up his stats. A crew of grade A jerks rolls up to mess with him and totally kill his vibe, calling him a loser because he can't even lift a basic weight. They're throwing shade saying there's no way he got into this top-tier academy without bribing someone. Suho, being the good guy he is, tries to step in. I mean, the dude's got a hero complex, what can you do? But his friend snags him and yanks him back with Suho just staring in disbelief that the class rep Johan is doing absolutely nothing to stop them. But Johan breaks it down for him. It's obvious these punks are on a mission, because Hajin clearly ticked off Jonghak. So getting involved would just put a giant target on Suho's back too. Plus, there's always the chance these guys are just fronting, trying to get a reaction out of him. Suho is floored by what he's hearing, but Young-hoon chimes in saying, a guy who literally shattered a demonic human's arm shouldn't be sweating a couple of amateur bullies. He's convinced Hajin is low-key, hiding his true power level. But that whole theory gets debunked real quick when our boy, for the life of him, absolutely cannot move that barbell. He's seriously struggling out here before finally tapping out. Even the bullies think he's just plain pathetic, and Johan is starting to think, maybe Hajin just got insanely lucky that one time. Bruh switched sides so fast. Anyway, Suho tunes him out and dashes in to save Hajin regardless. The other cadets immediately pick up on the vibe shift, realizing a fight's about to go down, and of course Na-yoon is listening in. And once again, their instructor storms out with some serious angry dad energy, absolutely pissed that they're turning his training session into a total clown show. The instructor tells everyone to circle up because the quiz scores are about to be posted. The list is going up on the wall for the whole world to see. All the cadets crowd around the board, and it doesn't take long to see that a huge chunk of them got completely wrecked by this quiz. But at the very top of the list, there's only one name sitting. Pretty. None other than Kim Hajin, the same dude, who couldn't even bench the bar a few minutes ago. Rachel and Jonghak snagged second and third place respectively. I mean, Hajin isn't even shocked by this. No cap, he basically knows everything about this world since he's the one who wrote it. Seeing his name up there causes a girl's rapier to clatter to the floor. This is Rachel, and she is absolutely speechless. She's the princess from Britain who ranked third during admissions. The one thing you need to know about this girl is that she has never ever placed second on any written exam in her life. So, the fact that she just got beat has completely thrown her for a loop. She's staring at Hajin like she just saw a ghost, and Hajin is just as stunned, not having a clue what to say. So, let's rewind a bit. Back when Rachel first got into Cube with her insane scores, her attendants were all stressing for her. After all, she was about to be standing shoulder to shoulder with some of the world's most promising hero candidates. On top of that, she'd have no one she could really connect with since everyone else in her class was Korean. But Rachel was totally cool with it. She wasn't anxious at all, and just wanted to meet everyone's expectations for the sake of the royal family. But today she felt a type of dread defeat and disappointment she'd never known. She feels like she let her entire country down. Later in class, the teacher is going over Hajin's notes specifically, pointing out how brilliant the kid was for coming up with a fresh take on phenomenological analysis. He's basically held up as the new academic standard to beat. Now Rachel knows that phenomenology is not some easy topic you can just master overnight. She seriously doubts it's even possible for her to close the skill gap between them before midterms. This quiet, zoned-out kid Kim Hye-jin is straight up finessing her without even looking like he's paying attention in class. Now burning with a mix of inspiration and a desperate need to know his secret, Rachel starts taking a much deeper interest in him. Over at the information office, our boy is digging through a mountain of his old queries. He's finally got his hands on the Tome of Truth, which should be the answer to all his problems. Thanks to this OP new ability, he can now learn pretty much anything about this world and fill in any gaps in his author knowledge, even if it means blowing through a ton of his story points, especially since he's kinda down bad right now with no real way to get ahead. So Hajin's just banking on a future payout. He eventually heads over to complete his agent registration planning to use his hard-earned story points to smooth things over. And he's gonna need them, cause let's get into the second major event that's about to shake things up. The moment this next event drops, the entire Academy's rep as a safe space gets absolutely torched by the public. It's no longer seen as a sanctuary, it's a straight-up danger zone. The thing is, even with his current loadout, Hajin knows he's way too weak to 1v1 a fiend by himself. But he's been accidentally farming a massive amount of story points every time Jonghak gets ticked off and sends his goons after him. What was meant to be a punishment is low-key turning into his biggest advantage, and Hajin is ready to cash in. To make sure he doesn't get clapped by what's coming, his first priority is a major weapon upgrade. Specifically, he's looking to juice up his weapons buffs. He's rocking a Desert Eagle, and he wants to add a feature that lets it transform into a sniper rifle on the fly. I don't know about you, but a handgun that morphs into a sniper rifle, that just hits different no cap. Hajin has a brief moment where he wonders if this is a little overkill. But he says screw it and drops 250 story points for the upgrade, and right then and there it happens. His pistol warps into this insane golden sniper rifle, and even Hajin is floored by how sick it looks. But he immediately realizes it's way too flashy, and is basically a giant shoot me sign, so he switches it back to handgun mode for now. With his weapon sorted, his next move is to create a new technique, and he's got 3 open slots to work with. So there's a difference between abilities, which are your innate supernatural powers, and techniques. Techniques are physical skills you have to grind and learn instead of just being born with them. For any ranged fighter, the most critical skill for survival is all about dominating the field. It all comes down to positioning, so the technique Hajin is hunting for needs to get him into the perfect spot to avoid getting wrecked. He starts typing away on his laptop, browsing through the available skills. After a bit of searching, he finds exactly what he needs, and the technique's stats pop up for him to check out. He decides to call the new skill Parkour, and it's designed to make him a hyper-agile monster on the battlefield. This new mobility will keep him from ever being a sitting duck, ensuring he can't be easily pinned down. It costs him 350 points. But weirdly, after the points are spent, our guy feels absolutely no different physically. He doesn't feel any changes, but he's confident the system processed the upgrade correctly. All of a sudden, his smartwatch pings with a notification from a group chat. People are looking for a girl named Sungyeon. She's just become the second victim of a predator lurking inside the institution itself. Hajin knows the grim truth: the students who vanished before her weren't just missing. They were eliminated in cold blood by the culprit. This means that the instant someone disappears from campus, they're already gone for good. As the author, he's fully aware of the dangerous villain pulling the strings from the shadows. He even knows the exact people who are fated to be involved in the disappearances. This puts him in a seriously tough spot, morally speaking. Hajin has to ask himself if he should just look the other way, letting the story play out for his own benefit. That's a heavy question for real. What would you guys do? Let me know down in the comments. Would you be a pragmatist or a hero? These are the thoughts weighing on our MC. He's caught in a classic no-win situation with 0 good answers. The scene then switches over to the outdoor training area on the Cube's campus. An instructor is making an announcement telling the cadets they're about to take part in a very special practical training exercise. A practical training session. The massive cave up ahead of them is actually an artificial dungeon created through the wonders of magic technology. This place is filled with hyper-realistic illusions of actual monsters, so in a way, it's the ultimate training simulation to prepare the cadets for fighting real threats in the future. That's why they're all here. So the cadets are about to jump into a mock dungeon assault mission, but the instructor ain't playing. He makes it crystal clear that even though it's just training, they better not sleep on this exercise. If they do, it's going to cost them big time. The thing is, this artificial dungeon is absolutely massive. That's why 2 separate groups, Veritas and Cultural, have to join forces to even have a chance of taking it down. The plan is for 1 squad from each unit to merge, creating a specialized assault team to crack the dungeon. The instructor tells them to squad up on their own, and just like that, the whole room erupts into a mess of chatter as students scramble to find their teammates. In the middle of all this is Team 8, featuring our boy Hajin and his usual crew, Yonghua, Hazuki, and Hosung. They're teamed up with Jaden, Jingyu, Sujung, and Jin Sha from the Cultural unit. This brings their squad to a total of 8 cadets ready to face an artificial dungeon filled with terrifying traps. Hajin has a gut feeling that some of these traps weren't part of the training. He suspects fiends planted them. To deal with the possibility of fighting demon-possessed humans, he's already packed a bunch of custom-made bullets just for the occasion. But even with this unexpected twist, Hajin is feeling pretty confident in his own abilities. He's low-key, wondering if he's actually built to survive this so-called practical training event. Then bam! The system starts blaring a warning, telling him the story has gone off script. For our author MC, this is a major problem. The worst part is, he has no clue what's been changed. On top of that, 3 different story elements have been altered in this one event alone. So, yeah, the system is basically screaming at Hajin to be on high alert. He's completely in the dark about who or what is causing these wild changes, while the teams are still getting organized. Hajin's biggest fear right now is the fact that he's flying blind, totally unaware of the plot twists. While he's lost in his own head, Kim Suho's teammate, a girl named Yuna from the Cultural unit, starts flaming him for being a dumbass. She roasts him for not paying attention to the instructor, and right on cue, the system alerts him that Yuna's temper is flaring. Meanwhile, Yonghua meets Jaden from the Cultural team, but she's not feeling his enthusiastic vibe at all, giving him a stone-cold look. The system then notifies Hajin that Jaden's growth potential just shot up from this one interaction. Lastly, there's Nayun. She bumps into a cadet she's seen at the hunting club before. The guy introduces himself as Sven, rocking some seriously pretty blue eyes and a killer smile. He's her partner for the raid, but there's a huge catch: his mental state is apparently nosediving hard. That means he's a prime target to get turned into a demon puppet during the mission. Hajin is just baffled. Listening to all these story changes pop up out of nowhere has him seriously stressing out. He knows these alterations are going to have a huge impact on the story, so he starts focusing on two specific characters. The first person he needs to watch like a hawk is Jaden from his own team. Jaden was supposed to be a standard delinquent character. You know, the bully type. And while he's a decent cadet skill-wise, what's really throwing Hajin for a loop are the random growth potential points he's getting out of thin air. Jaden politely introduces his part of the team. He points out Jingyu, Sujun, and Jin Sha. When it's Yonghwa's turn, she does the same, but conveniently messes up our boy's name, which no cap really gets under his skin. It's kind of funny she probably called him Li Hai Jin just to get a rise out of him. Anyway, back to the important stuff. Hajin starts planning what to do. This leads him to his second person of interest, Sven. This dude is an elite hero candidate from Germany, here on a government scholarship and everything. But there's only one thing you really need to know about this guy: he is down bad for Nayun. Is it just me, or does literally every guy in this story have a crush on Nayun? Someone seriously needs to check if she made a pact with a demon of seduction. But just like the other international students, Sven came to the academy to chase glory and hit the big time. But that's turned into a pipe dream for him, especially with absolute monsters like Nayun Suho and Yonghwa hogging the spotlight. After all, they're the main characters of this world. Seeing their insane, almost godlike abilities completely wrecked him. Sven became lost and mentally shattered. Before coming to this academy, he'd never tasted true defeat or felt so inferior. His insecurities totally consumed him, which is why in a desperate grab for power, Sven makes a deal with the devil for more strength. Now our author is confident about those details because he wrote them himself. The real problem is what he didn't write. Yo, get this, Hajin's big transformation is about to go down during the raid way earlier than he expected, and he's just hoping it doesn't completely wreck everything. But of course, Hajin's still stressing when Jaden just walks up and shatters his focus with a tight squeeze on his shoulder. He tells him to get his head out of the clouds and pay attention. Hajin ain't having it and shoves his arm off, but Jaden immediately starts running his mouth, calling him a scumbag and saying the rumors are probably no cap. Hearing that Hajin knows his reputation has officially hit rock bottom. A nasty rumor has been spreading through the Orbis unit, making a lot of people target him. The story goes that he's flexing his cadet status to bully others. But it's totally fake, just some drama manufactured out of thin air by haters to talk trash. It's pretty obvious who started it though. Hajin knows for a fact it traces back to Jonghak and his crew of clowns. Looking at his so-called friends, Hajin's low-key salty that Hazuki and Hosung aren't even trying to back him up, even though they're a team whatever. The entry order gets sorted out, and they'll be going in starting with Team 1. In the meantime, Jaden tries to spit game at Yanha, gassing up their team, and going on about how they're totally cracked. They even start dissing Hajin, calling him a dead weight who can't pull his own. It's actually hilarious. It feels like the hater convention is all on one team, and poor Hajin is their main event. Finally, it's Team 8's turn to dive into the dungeon. They step inside this massive artificial cave and start pushing forward to explore the area. Jaden's out front acting all cocky when they hit a fork in the road with a ton of different paths, and a curious Yanha wonders what to do. She asks which route would be best, and Jaden says they can always count on Jingyu, their ranged user, to scout ahead. But then Hajin, who's been quiet this whole time, speaks up out of the blue and suggests they check out Route 6. Jaden gets super annoyed by the random interruption, but weirdly enough, Yanha seems to vibe with Hajin's gut feeling and actually goes with his suggestion. Hajin is completely floored by her sudden approval. Even though she calls him useless in front of everyone, she can't deny the guy has sharp eyes. Hajin's a little annoyed that she has to roast him just to give him a compliment. But hey, he's fine with it as long as this is the path that leads them to Nayun. The whole deal with Sven is that there's a real chance he'll make a pact with the demon lurking inside this dungeon. That means all the pressure's gonna fall on Nayun, and she'll have a hell of a time fighting him solo if she gets taken out now. The rest of the story will totally fall apart because her character is essential for moving the plot forward. She's an irreplaceable part of the puzzle that can't be lost. So, they head down path 6, but Jaden is still being a jealous hater, calling Hajin a clout chaser. Our boy doesn't give a damn about his insults though. He just focuses on the monsters up ahead. The other cadets can't see anything in the dark, but Hajin is built different, easily spotting a salamander in the distance. He also thinks it might be a kind of dungeon trigger that could reveal some of its hidden mechanics. A worried Jingyu pipes up, suggesting he could shoot a light arrow to check things out for them. With Yanha's nod of approval, he preps a shot, and lets it fly, carving a bright line of light ahead of them. Everyone is completely shook. There really is a salamander monster right there. Jaden can't believe his eyes. While Yanha tells everyone to get into formation to take this thing down, Hajin, on the other hand, hesitates. He's anticipating something before he makes his move. Yanha busts out her signature whip weapon, and she charges straight into the fight, unleashing a powerful crack of her whip that smacks the beast and interrupts it from charging an attack. I'm not gonna lie, this thing looks like a Pokemon that just had its mouth clamped shut. Hazuki and the other melee fighters dive in to smash the monster with some heavy-hitting attacks. Since it's just a hologram, they clap it pretty easily and barely take a scratch. Yanha hears a deep rumbling and realizes that with the monster gone, the dungeon itself is starting to transform. Hajin catches sight of the electric energy crackling around her whip. He's seriously impressed that she's already unlocked her pre-awakening power. Just as they're about to press on, Hajin trips on a freaking pebble and crashes right into Yanha from behind. In that exact same moment, a sharp projectile zips right past where she would have been. If he hadn't stumbled, she'd be dead. They both slam into the ground hard. Hajin's life flashes before his eyes because he knows he's about to die. Yanha tries to brush off his clumsy act. She ignores him for a hot second, but then the rage kicks in and she gets ready to absolutely beat him down. But just as she's preparing to demolish him, the rest of the team points to the arrow that almost took her out a second ago. It's right then that it all clicks for Hajin, that little stumble from earlier. Yeah, that was no accident. They literally just sidestepped a deadly poison arrow. The scene then flips over to Sven, who actually caught one of those arrows and is now begging Nayun to just ditch him and save herself. But Nayun is not having any of it. While lugging his heavy butt, she screams at him to shut his trap. If he can't run, then she'll run for the both of them, still reeling from what just went down. An arrow just materialized out of the blue and tags Sven from behind, and she just can't process it. She's floored that this could be part of their training, so she just books it, especially since this is supposed to be a controlled artificial dungeon. Situations like these aren't supposed to happen in here, and now we get a look at the massive demon she's trying to escape from. This thing is a walking volcano with some serious anger issues, and it's hot on Nayun's trail. So you can't blame her for being pissed at Sven for yapping while he's injured and slowing her down. Back in the artificial cave, the other cadets are in the middle of their training exercise, fighting off a swarm of fire salamanders that are set shooting beams from their mouths. Hajin's squad is holding the line like champs, especially the support unit who are defending and countering with long-range weapons. Same goes for Hajin and Yanha. They're in their element cleaning house without even breaking a sweat. And then you've got Jaden, who's having the time of his life just dicing up monsters all by himself. This entire battle is looking like a total cakewalk. To be fair, our heroes haven't faced a real challenge yet, since these monsters are nothing more than low-level mobs. Other than that one sketchy poison arrow, they don't think they've run into any other traps to worry about. So they're feeling pretty good about pushing forward to explore deeper, but something about that poison arrow just doesn't sit right with Hajin. He even got a special notification about it from the system, which definitely hits different. He's low-key losing his mind that these idiots still think the arrow was just a training mechanic and not a legitimate attempt on their lives. Hajin's brain is doing gymnastics trying to figure this out, when all of a sudden a powerful creeping presence behind him makes his skin crawl. A fully charged salamander is getting ready to unleash its devastating fire beam. It's ready to fire at any second, and Hajin is absolutely stunned that one of the salamanders managed to survive. He was sure they'd cleared them all out, but as it lets loose a massive fire blast, Yanha and the others are standing right in the line of fire, totally defenseless. This single attack is powerful enough to annihilate their entire team, which is why Hajin has no choice but to jump into the fight with his stigma magic. He pops his one-time use ability, instantly casting a water barrier. The stigma magic activates, throwing up the shield. It protects them from the full force of the beam. The attack is insanely powerful, but it eventually fizzles out. Against the powerful defense of the water barrier protecting his team, the salamander collapses, having used the last of its strength in that final attack. But what Hajin just pulled off has left his teammates completely shook their jaws on the floor. Azuki and Hosung just stare, unable to process what they just saw. They also can't believe that an attack that strong came from a salamander, especially if this is all supposed to be a part of their training. No cap, that was a real full-strength flame breath, and even though it didn't hit them head-on, it was still dangerously lethal. Jaden is the only one who's straight up enraged by this. He immediately gets in Hajin's face, demanding to know why he was hiding his water attribute powers. He's pissed because they really could have used that ability a while ago. Hajin tries to play it cool and explains it away. He claims he was just using a magic item's effect, but Jaden isn't buying that weak excuse for a second. Yanha steps in to break them up. The bigger issue here is the fact that they just fought a real-deal monster, inside an artificial dungeon no less. Manhwa reasons that the place is probably designed to mimic a real dungeon, which means it's possible that one of the salamanders evolved, or something else caused it to appear unexpectedly. She doesn't want to get bogged down in the details right now, though, because she's pretty damn sure they'll get a ton of points for taking down a genuine monster. Later on, Manhwa takes the lead, and acts like she couldn't care less about what just happened. But in her head, she's 100% certain Hajin is bullshitting with that magic item excuse. The fact that the dude couldn't even afford a desert eagle is all the proof she needs that he couldn't just get his hands on a magic item like that, especially a water attribute one out of nowhere. I mean, while Jong, Hak and Suho seem like the type of guys to pull off that kind of stunt, a nobody like Hajin is just completely out of the question. Manhwa starts connecting all the weird coincidences surrounding him, like how he knew the mountain tyrant's vital point, and now the fact that he's capable of using magic. She can't wrap her head around why he's going to such great lengths to hide his powers, which reminds her of what Naeun first assumed. That maybe he's actually a fiendish human, because she's so puzzled and just can't bring herself to trust Hajin. Manhwa has decided to keep a very close eye on him. Now let's run it back to our girl Naeun and see how she's dealing with her own giant monster problem. Okay, so this Manga megalith is a certified menace. We're talking an intermediate grade monster that looks completely unstoppable, and everyone's pretty sure it's the dungeon boss. They're low-key wondering how they're even supposed to handle a beast this huge, especially with just a normal team. Their big idea is to squad up with the other teams and launch one massive coordinated attack. But there's a major wrench in the works. Sven is in bad shape. On top of that, Naeun is totally clueless about where that poison arrow came from. She's seriously starting to think this dungeon's difficulty is cranked way too high for a cadet training exercise. And it turns out Sven's condition is way worse than anybody knows. He feels like he's nothing but dead weight for the team. He's just spiraling, thinking he let everyone down, and his mental state is taking a nosedive. The negative thoughts are piling up. It gets so bad that he starts doubting his own abilities, and that doubt is just eating him alive from the inside. And right when he's at his absolute lowest, a mysterious voice decides to slide in and exploit. The voice basically asks if he's desperate for power, especially after all the suffering he's been through. This voice promises to give him exactly what he's craving, offering him a level of strength he's only ever dreamed about. The catch: this demonic voice demands he surrender everything else in return. Faced with this deal in his pathetic condition, Sven just accepts without a second thought. The moment he agrees, the demonic entity immediately snags his soul, plunging him into a vortex of unimaginable pain. He's screaming his lungs out as his body gives in to the agony. Naeun rushes over to him, yelling for her teammates to help. But all that screaming just acted like a dinner bell, drawing that ugly Goliath right to their location. It stares them down for a hot second before just nuking the area with lava. The monster then swings its colossal fist. It's trying to smash all the structures, and you better believe the cadets are sprinting like they're in the Olympics. They're terrified that one of those fists will turn them into a pancake if they're not quick enough. The monster slams the ground hard. The impact sends a few cadets flying. They're completely boxed in with no escape route. Even Naeun has hit a dead end. She's struggling just to carry Sven and can't see any way out. Before she can even catch her breath, the horrifying beast pops up, its scary eyes locked on her. Now that's some pure nightmare fuel. No cap, you would not want to be Naeun right now. The girl can't even believe what they're up against. She's now 100% convinced this is no training dummy. Facing its insane power, Naeun is terrified to admit that they might actually die. And of all places, in a fake artificial dungeon. Just as the monster rears back to unleash its final attack, a single mana bullet flies out of nowhere and smacks it down. It pierces right through the top of its head. Naeun's attention snaps to the direction of the shooter, who attacked from a distance. And of course, it's our boy Hajin saving her hide for the second time. If she's still ungrateful after this one, I swear he should just let her get wrecked next time. Anyway, let's rewind a few minutes and check in on Manhwa's team. They had just run smack into a massive wall. This seriously ticked off Jaden, because this path was supposed to lead them straight to the boss. Hajin, however, confirms that they're in the right spot. He says they've actually never been closer, but admits even he didn't expect a literal wall to be in their way. Not wanting to get stuck on the details, Hajin claims the monster is lurking just on the other side. He told the group to try and break through the wall for him. Jaden was super salty that Hajin was suddenly the one calling all the shots and running the whole operation. Regardless, he still attacks with all his might, swinging his sword with full force. The result? The poor guy gets a nasty shock sent right back at him because the wall is infused with some seriously strong defensive magic. So even a magic-powered attack is completely useless against it. That's when Hazuki spots something and points to a gap way up above the wall. Hajin figures they can use that gap to climb over, but Jaden thinks that's a completely ridiculous idea. He says Hajin's crazy if he thinks he can make a 10-meter climb. Realizing Jaden's just a hater, who probably couldn't dream of pulling off this move, Hajin decides to go first. He activates his parkour technique. His grip strengthens and he becomes unbelievably agile, flipping and launching his way up the wall like a seasoned pro until he reaches the very top. From there, he ditches the group and just bolts. A second later, the entire party hears a huge boom coming from the other side. The dungeon is glitching out again with another unexpected event. Jaden is totally confused, but what they don't know is that the giant lava golem has been on an absolute rampage inside. Hajin arrives just in time to rescue Nayun. He's honestly a bit surprised that the stun effect from his bullet already wore off. It barely lasted against a creature of this bulldozing size. He's yelling at Nyan to get the heck out of there while she still can. But things take a nosedive for our boy when the massive monster decides he's its new favorite chew toy. Bruh, his face goes white as a sheet as he starts begging Nayun to save him instead of making a run for it. Without missing a beat, the team jumps into formation and starts hammering the lava golem from all sides. But even with their all-out assault, none of their attacks even scratch this beast. It's tanking their hits like they're nothing. Seeing her squad pull up is a huge relief for Nayun, and she decides it's time to get serious as she starts charging up a beast of an arrow. She needs them to keep the monster's attention while she powers up her shot. A few seconds tick by, and just in the nick of time, Sven pops up out of nowhere, making one hell of an entrance. He keeps the golem busy and distracted, giving Nyan the chance to pour even more power into her shot, all while remembering how badly things went with the demonic human. She makes a promise to herself that this time is going to be different, and with a final roar, Nayun unleashes her devastating arrow. The shot completely vaporizes the monster's face on impact, and the golem's body slams into the ground as lava pours out of its head. The cadets can't even process what just happened. They actually managed to take down that absolute unit with their combined power. Some of them are already daydreaming about the fat stack of points they're probably going to get for this win. Nayun and Sven rejoin the group, but everyone's still stunned by her insane attack, which she casually calls her finishing move. Hajin couldn't care less about the celebration, though. His focus is locked entirely on Sven. At this point in the timeline, he hasn't turned into a fiend yet, which is a huge departure from the original story, and is guaranteed to shake things up later. That transformation is definitely still coming, especially now that he's made a pact with the demon lurking in this cave. The whole situation is a ticking time bomb because there's no telling when he's finally going to snap and throw the entire plot into total chaos. Nayun's gaze eventually shifts to the boy in the distance who's still trying to catch his breath. For a moment, she pushes aside her usual irritation with him and walks over for a private chat, feeling like she owes him big time. Looking incredibly awkward, Nayun manages to choke out the words "thank you," clearly embarrassed to even say them. Getting this kind of nod from her is a legit mind-blowing experience. For our boy, it's so surreal, he doesn't know what the heck is going on. He completely spaces out and just asks her what she said. This annoys her, and she snaps that he's not getting a repeat performance. But what Hajin really can't wrap his head around is that she actually went and thanked him. Her whole life has been a non-stop train of absolute misery, with the first major disaster hitting her when she was only 6 years old. It was a brutal experience for the poor girl losing her mom at the hands of a fiend. This tragedy fueled her drive to one day become a hero. While most kids were taught to have fun, Nayun's childhood was filled with pure rage. She pushed her body past its breaking point from a young age, completely shutting herself off and never forming any real connections. Getting close to people meant she'd have to be vulnerable and open up about her past, and that was a risk she just wasn't willing to take. As a result, the list of people who've earned her gratitude is incredibly short, and there are almost none who can truly call themselves her friend. That's exactly why this moment is such a huge deal to Hajin. The character he wrote to only ever apologize has finally said something that completely goes against her own programming. As the author of the freaking novel, he knew her better than anyone. Nayun suddenly changes the subject and starts questioning why he lets Jong-hak's lackeys walk all over him, especially when he's so clearly powerful and effective in a real crisis. I mean, come on. A single shot from his gun was enough to freeze that monster in its tracks. There's just no shot that those clowns are any match for a guy like him, so she just doesn't understand his game. Hajin just says that he doesn't really have a solid way to put them in their place, which sounds super suspicious to Nayun. She literally just witnessed him take down a monster with that same weapon. Our boy shows off his new toy, the Desert Eagle, and explains that it's just a custom piece he made. It helps him handle business when things get rough. At the end of the day, he's just trying to fly under the radar and not seem like a big shot. Nayun completely freaks out when she hears him openly admit to committing a crime. Modified weapons are super illegal at the academy, and getting caught with one means an automatic suspension. Hajin admits that's the only reason he uses the weapon, and only when he absolutely has to. Thankfully, he's found a loophole to hide the gun inside his stigma, which lets him keep much stronger weapons tucked away in his personal inventory. This way, he doesn't get busted every time he uses it. Still, Nayun isn't buying his whole weak guy act. She can tell he's just built different, which makes her wonder, and she straight up asks him if he has some kind of special gift. You know, one that's specifically related to his insane firearm abilities. Hajin basically blows her off, but weirdly enough, she seems pretty satisfied and just walks away. She says she won't snitch about the gun, but suggests he should probably stop using it. But before she dips, she brings up another topic. It's the one thing that made her despise him in the first place. Hajin goes dead silent, still refusing to apologize or clear the air. He can't say sorry because that would build a bridge between them, and she'd forgive him, which would seriously mess up his plans. Because, bruh, my guy is literally plotting to put her older brother on a t-shirt in the future. No cap, he's not about to start playing nice and messing with her head when he's got his sights set on her family. His one goal is to take out Cha Jin-yun down the line, no matter what it takes. When Nayun gets back to her crew, they're all dying for the tea. They want to know if she's somehow friends with Hajin now, but she shuts that down real quick. Sven, though, is giving off some seriously creepy vibes, like he knows something's up. A sudden announcement interrupts everything, telling the cadets the dungeon training exercise has been immediately suspended. They want everyone out of there right now. I mean, talk about being late to the party. If Hajin hadn't stepped in, they'd probably be collecting body parts right now. But a whole bunch of other problems came to light. You know, during that absolute train wreck of an exercise. The first issue was that every single surveillance camera mysteriously went offline the moment the exercise began. Next, real-life monsters started popping up instead of the training dummies. And to top it all off, the staff had zero chill and waited until the last possible second to react. It was a massive incident, but since there were no casualties, the Cube decided to keep things quiet. They launched their own internal investigation to handle the mess, instead of getting the actual authorities involved. Hajin explains that the Jinns secretly working inside Cube's executive staff probably managed to sweep the whole thing under the rug. He knows a proper investigation isn't going to happen until much later in the story. What's really bugging him right now is the co-author's true objective and whatever he's planning with Sven. Turns out making a pact with a demon comes with a pretty nasty side effect. It completely messes with a person's emotions and can lead to a dangerous obsession. The absolute worst-case scenario playing out in Hajin's head is Sven going completely ballistic and taking out Nayun. He's dead set on making sure that future never ever happens. That's why he started to secretly keep an eye on them, you know, tracking both of their movements. Hajin opens his messenger app, apologizing in his head for the sketchy stuff he's about to do to get the info he needs. The system patches him directly into Nayun's messenger account. He can see a ton of chats with Suho Sven and Young Han, but the only person he's interested in is Sven himself. He sees Sven texting her an invite to the hunting club's event this week. In the original story, this is the exact moment Sven's dark side completely erupts. Just to make damn sure nothing goes wrong, Hajin plans to shadow them and do whatever it takes to neutralize the threat. Besides, he's boosted his stats now, so he thinks it's finally time to go hunt in the garrison dungeon. While he's in class, Hajin gets a random message on his smartwatch. He has no clue why Suho is hitting him up. Out of the blue, Suho asks if our boy is free on Friday because there's something he's been wanting to talk to him about. Now, let's talk about the garrison. It's a mountain in the Gangwon-do province pretty well known for its spiritual power. It's often called a training paradise by martial artists who travel from all over the country just to get stronger there. But it's not just them. The garrison is also a hot spot for vagabonds who prefer to scour the mountains for buried treasure. You know, instead of risking their lives fighting monsters. Well, one of these vagabonds is a ginseng digger named Kim Yoon Jin, and he's going to be our boy's guide for this little trip. Hajin is not the least bit hyped or moved by Yoon Jin's enthusiasm. Yoon Jin is super confident that Hajin will never find any ginseng with his clumsy technique, but Hajin sets him straight. He tells him his goal isn't ginseng but something else entirely. The old guy just keeps rambling on, which really starts to get on our boy's nerves. So he just chooses to ignore him. Yoon Jin smugly assumes that this kid is just an inexperienced rookie, and to be fair, he's kinda right. Because Hajin immediately trips and falls flat on his face, multiple times on his way up. But right then, he spots some dazzlingly bright ginseng. He can't even believe his eyes. My guy ends up just straight up munching on the 7-year-old ginseng root. Thanks to his modification function, This will let him double his stats by 2 points for a short period of time. But the truly insane thing about this specific ginseng is that if he had sold it, he could have made a cool 700 million from it. But it's low-key wild. He didn't use that cash to pay off his debts, you know? Instead, Hoojin's struggling big time just to make the climb. The journey is so brutal, he figures it makes total sense that no one stumbled upon the dungeon he's hunting for yet. Tucked away inside this washed-up old garrison is the legendary spot he's after, the undead dungeon. Our boy is now standing at the entrance to this cave of terror, where the final boss is a death knight, a seriously tough customer. We're talking an upper intermediate level monster here, and even though the ginseng gave Hoojin a decent stat boost, this dude should still absolutely smoke him. But stepping inside Hoojin couldn't care less about the odds. He's not playing the same game as everyone else and has completely different goals.